theyeshiva.net.
Barishoyna, yeah? Chav Beis Amud Beis, the Mishnah, Barishoyna Hayu Masiyin Masuos. So after the first Mishnah of the second Perek discussed the idea that you had to send a character witness sometimes, as the Gemarah says, character witnesses, to testify about the validity of the witnesses who observed the new moon, unless Bezdin knew who the person was.
You said on Monday you're going to say everything one of the things.
Yeah. The one who explains it is the Chsam Sofer, and my Kovitz Mefarshim doesn't have the Chsam Sofer, and I don't know why. So I couldn't find it. I have to find the Chsam Sofer on Rosh Hashanah. It's not usually the Chsam Sofer is always printed in the Kovitz Mefarshims, and on my Chidush Chsam Sofer I don't see it. I have a Chidush Chsam Sofer, and I don't see it in my Kovitz Mefarshim. So that's Zuchen Abyssal where it is.
Who brings it down?
They say look in the Chsam Sofer. The Mesivta Gemarah says look in Chsam Sofer. But it's not, apparently there's not a lot on Rosh Hashanah, because usually in the Kovitz Mefarshim you have Chidush Chsam Sofer, and I have a set Chidush Chsam Sofer, but I don't see it on Rosh Hashanah there. So I don't know, I have to find, I guess it's somewhere, a few pieces that he has, B'stama. Nafman Azuchta. Okay. I'll find it, Blinada, I'll tell you. Okay, so after the first Mishnah discussed that you have to, Bezdin needs to recognize the witnesses who saw the moon. They have to know them. And if not, you have to send character witnesses. And the Gemarah explained what happened, because the Baitusim had an agenda, and they tried to deceive Bezdin when it came to Rosh Chodesh Nisan, because of their deep craving, as Rashi put it, their taiva, that Pesach should always be on Shabbos, and the second day of Pesach should be on Sunday. So now after this, the Gemarah comes and tells a different story. The first Mishnah told one story, that they used to accept Eidus from any person. Whether they knew him or they didn't know him, every Jew is b'cheskes kashrus, innocent till proven guilty. Kol Yisrael b'cheskes kashrus, as the Rambam puts it in the Kiddush HaChodesh, ad sheyivada l'cha shel pasal. Until you don't know that he's disqualified, his status is, the assumption is that he is qualified as a good aid. Kol Yisrael b'cheskes kashrus. Once there was a story that undermined that, now they understood that it's not that way, unfortunately, because there's an agenda of people who want to distort the truth to the point that they were hiring witnesses and paying them money to make up a story, concoct a story about the moon. Was loy hoya v'loy nivra, it never happened, never existed. Who were these people? The Baitusim. So Bezdin changed the order in the sense that they have to know who's coming, they have to know it's an Erlich Yid, a trustworthy Jew, or at least that there are witnesses about this Jew, that he's a fine Jew, a trustworthy, honest person. Now we come to another story with a different group of people, not the Baitusim like in the first Mishnah, but the Kusim, which created a different event. Also connected, of course, to Kiddush HaChodesh, the new moon. So the Mishnah says, Barishoyin in the beginning, Hayu Masiyin Masuos. In the beginning, they used to kindle torches of fire on the top of mountains. After Bezdin declared which day is Rosh Chodesh, so if the day 30 of the month was declared Rosh Chodesh, in other words, the month only had 29 days because day 30 became day 1 of the new month, that night, the night after 30, they would kindle torches on top of the mountains, and that is how everybody found out when Rosh Chodesh was, and hence they knew the time of all of the holidays of any single month, and really of every single month, they just knew the day. As Rashi puts it,
They knew it after Rosh Chodesh.
the day, that night, the night after Rosh Chodesh, the night after 30, they knew that today was Rosh Chodesh, and therefore tomorrow is Beis, tomorrow is 2. So it wasn't a question when Pesach is, when Shavuos is, when Sukkot is, when Yom Kippur is, when Chanukah is, when Purim is, when Tisha B'Av is, etc.
That's saying Rosh Hashanah.
Bereshayna hayamasi and masu is a Rashi La'achar shekitchu HaChodesh. After Kiddush HaChodesh, they kindled torches. Yeah. V'lo hayu tzrichin liskor shluchim. They didn't have to hire shluchim. From here you see that Bezdin used to pay money for people to become their shluchim when they decided that you have to have shluchim. Because remember, a person had to give up month after month after month, right? They used to go out 6 months. So they had to give up a lot of time. They had to travel for a few weeks there, a few weeks back. So they had to rent people, they hired people. So Rashi says they didn't have to rent shluchim l'shloyach l'goyla, to send a message to the exiles, to the diaspora, lohidia, to tell them when Rosh Chodesh was. Ki amasu is mediyah ma'isa. The tortures were the best notifications. Everybody knew when Rosh Chodesh was. This was a great system. The reason it was a great system is, first of all, you didn't have to hire shluchim, so Pashat financially, he saved a lot of money. That's why Rashi suddenly here discusses the money of the shluchim. It was a tremendous gain. Of course, the obvious gain was, everybody knew when Yom Tov was.
Right away.
Right away, exactly. There was no problem. No such a thing. You're living far away in Babylonia. You don't need messengers. The Mishnah is going to describe exactly how they did it. Once the kusim ruined it, Hiskinu Bezdin instituted shluchin yoitzen. We can't trust the torches anymore. They would hire messengers, human ambassadors, agents to go out and tell everybody. Zok Rashi, he gives us the details, what happened. What did they do? The Mishnah just says they ruined it. They destroyed it. They destroyed the reality. What happened? Zok Rashi, v'hisiu gamhei masuos. They kindled their own torches. Shaloi bizman hachodesh lahatas Yisrael. In the wrong time, as Rashi will explain, in order to deceive Klal Yisrael. Of course, they couldn't deceive Bezdin or people that lived by, but people who were relying on the torches were deceived. Rashi explains, "Ubezdin lahayu masiyan masuas ela b'chodesh and eskadish b'yom lamed." The only time Bezdin would kindle torches was only one situation, when Rosh Chodesh was established on day 30. That's what he says. B'chodesh and eskadish b'yom lamed. The Rosh Chodesh that was sanctified on day 30. Kedamrinim b'pirkin, as we will soon say in this parak, in the Gemarah. When there was no fire, when there were no torches being kindled on the night after 30, automatically everybody knew the month is pregnant. It's a month of 30 days, not 29 days. So here was the system. If Rosh Chodesh was established on day 30, so day 30 became day 1, so the last month only had 29 days. That night after 30, which is already now after Aleph, because it was made Rosh Chodesh, torches were lit. So I'm living wherever I'm living, I see the torch burning, I know that the day before this night was Rosh Chodesh, and tonight is Beis, tomorrow is Beis, and tomorrow night is Gimel. What happens if I'm looking up and I say it's day 30, but I don't know, is it Rosh Chodesh or not Rosh Chodesh? So if I see a fire at night, I know it's Rosh Chodesh. If I don't see a fire at night, I know that today was not Rosh Chodesh. Today was added, today, the previous day was added to the previous month. The month had 30 days.
And now it's Aleph.
And tonight is Aleph. Tomorrow is going to be Rosh Chodesh because there was no fire. And tomorrow night, there's going to be nothing. Tomorrow night is going to be nothing. After the delayed Rosh Chodesh, there's nothing. There's only a fire when, and remember, there's only a doubt of 2 days. It's either one thing or another thing. There's no 3 options. There's 2 options. Either Rosh Chodesh is day 30, Rosh Chodesh is day 31. Now this is what they this is how they manipulated it. So Rashi, so if there's no fire the first night after 30, de facto you know this is a pregnant month. Once this is what happened. Ibru Bezdin is a Chodesh. Bezdin made the month Me'uber. The month was 30 days, not 29 days. Therefore, so after day 30 passed, they knew Bezdin knew if witnesses came and today was Rosh Chodesh, we got to light a fire. Witnesses didn't come today, so today is not Rosh Chodesh. Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. So there's no fire. There's no fire. What happens? Hakusim hisiyum b'hadim shalahem. The kusim used the opportunity They know that there's no fire. They go and they light their own torches. So what happens now? All the Jews in the diaspora see the flames. They imagine it was already Rosh Chodesh. That means the previous month had 29 days, not 30 days. So when did they make Pesach? They make Aleph a day early. Pesach is a day early, right? 7 days. The 8th day of Pesach, it's not Pesach anymore. It's 8th day. They're eating chametz. Really? Pesach started a day later. Or whatever the month was. And this created a major problem. So what happened? Zok the Mishnah, that's when Bezdin changed the whole dynamic. No more torches. We're sending out people to testify when they heard when Rosh Chodesh is, to tell everybody when Rosh Chodesh is.
Well, they cannot do shluchim also. They can cheat this, they can cheat that too.
Even by the time Yom Tov comes, the other shluchim will be.
Which one are you going to trust? How do you know this one is from Kusim, this one is not?
You want to know, they could do the same thing. A Kusi could show up and say, I'm a Shliach.
I'm Shlach Beis I heard Mikodesh, and we did 29 days.
On this, the Gemarah said earlier, that who do we trust to tell us when Rosh Chodesh is? Ula came and said what happened, right? That they made Rosh Chodesh in Eretz Yisrael a certain day. Reb Kahana said, not only would we believe Ula, because he's a Gavra Rabbah, we would believe anybody. To the point that the Braisa says somebody comes from Ekvelt, Misoifa Olam, from the edge of the world, we don't even know who he is, we trust him. And the Gemarah said there is a reason. Kol milsa Davida legluya, loy meshakri ba'inshi. A normal human being will not lie about something that will be revealed. So if the Shliach comes and he says the wrong day because he's a Kusi, will he lie or not? Torches, nobody discovers you lied. Right?
Nobody knows who you are.
Nobody knows who you are. You're not announcing your name. You go up and you light a fire, right? And then you make sure to pass on the torch before you're caught. Before you're caught, you run away. So you could lie and get away with it. But the Shliach, he has to identify himself. Shalom Aleichem, who are you? Right? Once they find out, he knows they're going to find out that they're lying. Somebody else is going to come from Bezdin. So that's what Pashtus the difference. That Kol Milsa David Legluya Lo Meshakre B'Inshi. You can also add that here, when he lights torches, he's causing the whole Klal Yisrael to be deceived. Here, the Shliach is lying for a particular community. Or maybe he's going to go to another community also. But it's also a much more limited influence. You know, how much gain is there? When he lights torches, all the Jews, remember from Eretz Yisrael also, whoever is outside of Yerushalayim, everybody's being deceived. Besides the Jews living by Bezdin, there's going to be a major confusion. I mean, some Jews will find out the right time, some Jews won't find out the right time. The Jews living closer will obviously find out the right time. That's a second difference. The Meiri also says that the Shliach would come with a special ksav from Bezdin. Bezdin had like a certain, I guess a stempel, some ksav Bezdin that would be able to authenticate that he was a Shliach. That's what the Meiri writes.
So Rashi says Pam Achas.
Pam Achas.
They didn't allow for a chazaka or anything. It's just one time, and they started spending a tremendous amount of money.
With the Baitusim also.
Yeah.
After one time.
It's a serious situation.
Because the Pam Achas, it's not about a chazaka. That means corruption has penetrated. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do? There's no stopping. You're dealing with unscrupulous people who will do anything to get their way. And it's not like they're not even gaining anything. Bezdin is going to celebrate the right time. In the first case, that's the Baitusim and the Kusim. It's interesting to emphasize. The Baitusim were full-fledged Jews. They were Tzdukim Baitusim. They were full-fledged Jews who denied Torah Shabbal Peh, were not loyal to Torah Shabbal Peh, and there were tsaris from them. They were the ones who made the first problem. They wanted to manipulate Bezdin. The Kusim, that was already a whole different experience. Because the Kusim actually, they were not Jews. Who were the Kusim? When Sancheriv, the Assyrian king, he had a policy when he conquered Eretz Yisrael and all of the nations, he was a tremendous power, to dislocate everybody, to relocate everybody. And the reason probably is because generally refugees who are not natives are less likely. Sancheriv? Yosef, yeah. They're less likely to rebel because they don't have that, organic connection to the native land. You're a refugee, there's a certain insecurity that many refugees have, as we know. As a result of that, his policy was relocate everybody. As the Gemarah has an expression in Brachas, Basan Cheriv, or Bilbilas Ha'olam. He confused everything. So the Kusim were basically the name of a nation that Sancheriv, he resettled them from their city. They came from a place called Kuta. That's why they're called Kusim. They came from a place Kuta, Chav Vav Saf Aleph. And he placed them in Shamron, in Samaria, in Eretz Yisrael, in the Shamron, where members of the 10 Shvatim used to live. They were exiled. 10 of the Shvatim, most of the 10 Shvatim were exiled, and one of the great mysteries of Jewish history, within 150 years, they just disappear from the planet. We never hear from them again. I mean, every few years we hear of another tribe in Africa and Japan and Afghanistan, etc. But one of the great mysteries of Jewish history, they just disappear. And who takes over their spot in Shomron, in Samaria? The Kusim. Now the Kusim are not Jews. The Kusim are called Kusim because they come from Kusim. What happens is, at some point they convert to Judaism out of fear. There was a lion attack over there, and they were fearful that the God of the Jews is angry, and they all converted. And, good Jews argue. So for hundreds of years, Jews were arguing if their conversion was an authentic conversion or was not an authentic conversion. Are they really Jews or are they not really Jews? The problem is that they found that even after their conversion, they continued serving idols and so forth. So even though there was an argument if they're Geirei Emes or Geirei Arayis, if they're authentic converts or just lion converts, at the end, ultimately their Judaism was disqualified because there was just too much Avodah Zarah there, too much betrayal. So at some point, so that's why throughout Shas, you'll always see different perspectives on the Kusi. He's Jewish, he's not Jewish, he's semi-Jewish, he's almost Jewish. Some of them are very involved in Jewish life and are very religious, but there's always this problem with the Kusim. And the conflict, the relationship is always a stressful one.
Did they disappear as a people later?
You still have the Shomronim. You still have Shomronim near Shechem. You have on Har Gerizim, Mount Gerizim, right? You'll have a famous group, the Shomronim. And they are apparently descendants of this group. And they do like different customs that somehow resemble Jewish life, but completely in their own way. They have a Korban Pesach. Yeah, today, I'm talking about today. They're called Shomronim. But there's no connect. No, there's nothing, mamish, nothing. I mean, first of all, in terms of Kiddushin and Gittin and... Huh? Yes.
They know that they're not, they don't claim to be Eden, do they?
Shomronim.
They claim to be Shomronim.
Shomronim. I mean, it's well known. You could see pictures, their services, and
people go observe. They do the Korban Pesach.
Yeah, Korban Pesach they do. Yeah, yeah. They have these
robes and the hats.
Their robes with hats. They have a whole uniform. A whole uniform. It's a culture. It's a culture. It's a religion. A culture. So these are the Kusim. So these were the people. These were the people. This is not the Baitusim anymore. This is Mishakilkilu HaKusim to light these torches. Zok the Mishnah. So now everything changes. They're sending shluchim. They're sending shluchim. Zok the Mishnah. Keitzad hayu masiyin masuas. How are they kindling torches? What are they doing? Meviin klun soyes shel erez arukin. What's the translation they bring?
Long poles of cedar wood.
Long poles of cedar wood. Vikonim and reeds. Va'atzei shemen. Balsam wood. Una oides shel pishtan.
And flax combings.
Flax combings. Okay. So we have balsam wood, right? That's atzei shemen, and flax combings, and reeds. V'koirech, and he wraps them around on the cedar trees, on the cedar branches, b'meshicha, with a string, a rope. So he wraps all these materials around the cedar branch. V'oila l'roishar, and he goes up to the top of the mountain, u'matzis behen ha'sa'ur, and he ignites the fire on these long branches of the cedar wood, together with these extra materials that make it more flammable. So you have the cedar branches, you have the reed, you have the balsam wood, and you have the flax combings. He doesn't just hold up the torch. He's moilich umevi, which means he waves it back and forth, this way and that way, and up and down.
It's the same lashon that we use by
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Moilich umevi, mailo moirid, yeah. Ad shehu roya es chaveiroi, shehu eisekem b'rei shahar hasheni. Until he does it long enough that he sees that his colleague on the top of the second mountain copied him, emulated him. So he will not stop waving his flame until the other guy figured it out and did the same thing. And then the second man will not stop waving it until he sees the person on top of the third mountain emulating him, etc., etc. From where? Which mountains? It started off Mehara Mishcha L'Sartava. It started off from Hara Mishcha. Hara Mishcha is what we call today Hara Zaysim, the Mount of Olives. Have you ever been there? On the east Jerusalem. If you go to the Harabayis, right, on the eastern side, not where the Kaisel Maravi is. You go to Mizrach, you have the Hara Zaysim, the Mount of Olives. That was called Hara Mishcha because in Aramaic, Mishcha is shemen, oil, and Hara Zaysim is, of course, the Mount of Olives from which you make oil, and Mishcha means oil. So that was the first mountain. Now that was very close, of course, to Bezdin. That's very close to the Beis HaMikdash, or to Yerushalayim. So therefore, that was the mountain that they went first, and they lit the torch. From there, he waited l'Sartava, till they did it on a mountain called Sartava. Umisartava, from Sartava, it went Grufina, the mountain called Grufina. Grufina, it went to a mountain called Chavron. Chavron, it went to a mountain called Beis Biltin. Beis Biltin, once it hit Beis Biltin, Loi Zazu Misham. The people kindling the torches did not move from there. He would wave it back and forth, up and down. Until he saw the entire diaspora, the Jews in Babylonia, in front of him, and it all looked like one big blaze of fire. Because from Beis Biltin, basically the Jews in Bavel can already see the flame. One person lit it on his roof, and then it already went from home to home to home. Everybody was just lighting. So now he's looking at Bavel, and he just sees one big flam fire. It's interesting what the government looked at. This is the yes, but this is the source of all the fireworks. You can imagine. Once a month, it was the ganze Bavel was on. The whole Bavel was on fire.
What did he on Shabbos?
Oh, that's the Gemarah is going to discuss.
Another question though, since they had specific mountains from which the flames were, couldn't they guard, based on have guards there, so nobody would light a fire until it was fully authorized?
No, because in the beginning they didn't think anybody would want to corrupt this.
Once it happened,
Once it happened, they just obliterated.
from far exactly here or there.
They obliterated the tradition because they realized there's just no way of dealing with it. What happens if there was a house fire? If there was a house fire, then the whole house was on fire. Here you saw a guy on the roof holding a torch. It's not you saw a fire. You saw a guy with a torch waving back and forth. You knew you should light your torch. Let's see Rashi. What's your question? Zokt Rashi, Klunsais, Pirtki Belaz, Aruchim. Why long cedar branches? You didn't want a small torch, you wanted a long torch, so you would see it from far. Why? All these increase the fire. You tie all these substances on the top of your poles of cedar branches. On the top of the poles you tie them. Rashi says, what does me'ayin mean? What were the names of the mountains? Mehara Mishcha, Maschilin. They begin first on the Mount of Olives. Hu har hazesim shalifnei Yerushalayim. This is the Mount of Olives right before, on the eastern side of Jerusalem. Until the people who went up on Mount Sartava saw what happened at Har HaZeisim, and they knew to take their torches. And then Lechivron v'chuli. So in other words, what happened was the night after Rosh Chodesh, people near all these mountains were anticipating. And they waited, right? They prepared their torches, so they should be able to do it immediately. And then when they saw the first guy went up, they knew to do it. If not, they put it away for next month. They didn't have what to do with the torches. What's pshat? As kol hagoyla. He saw the whole exile. Rashi's not goyed as kol hagoyla, which makes sense that the whole Bavel saw. Rashi says es hagoyla. B'nei Bavel anshe Pumbedisa. Rashi says it was the people living in the city of Pumbedisa in Bavel, which apparently was the majority community was there. From there, the message went out to the people in Bavel. The message probably not through shluchim, through their own torches. Meduras eish means like a huge bonfire, and the whole thing looked like one big fire because so many torches were being lit on the roofs.
And on Rosh Hashanah, this was considered lit soirah.
No, on Rosh Hashanah you wouldn't have this a problem. The fires were lit moitzai Rosh Chodesh, the night after Rosh Chodesh. So if Rosh Hashanah was established as day 30 of the month of Elul, that became day 1 Rosh Hashanah. After nightfall, when Rosh Hashanah is over, they light torches.
Why wouldn't? Because it wouldn't work during the day.
Yes, they never lit torches by day because, of course, you don't see it. They wanted to maximize visibility, so they had to wait till nightfall.
So
it was never a problem of Yom Tif because it was right after Yom Tif. And remember, if Rosh Hashanah was pushed off a day later, they didn't light torches. Tosfos wonders why did they wave the torch back and forth, up and down? Just light the torch. So Tosfos says, the second to the last Tosfos, Yerushalmi mashma. In Talmud Yerushalmi, it seems that the explanation is they shouldn't think it's a flying star or a star. The Amar Rabbi said, Chazina koichva de nachas v'salik. I saw a star which seemed like going up and down. Chazina koichva de azal v'asi. I saw a star that seemed like going from right to left or left to right, but both directions that I didn't see. So when they saw the torch going this way and that way, there just simply should not be any doubts about it. This is the story in the Gemarah, in the Mishnah. This was the system. Obviously, it was a wonderful system. So there was no concept of making 2 days Yom Tif. Remember, everybody knew everything immediately the night after Rosh Chodesh. The only exception was Rosh Hashanah. That's why I didn't mention Rosh Hashanah. Because Rosh Hashanah, obviously, they didn't know when Rosh Hashanah was till the night after Rosh Hashanah, right? Because Rosh Hashanah was established day 30. They didn't know when Rosh Hashanah is till the night after Rosh Hashanah. But if Rosh Hashanah was the later day, then they knew when Rosh Hashanah was. Because if they saw no torches being lit, they knew that tonight is Rosh Hashanah. The month had 30 days, tonight is Rosh Hashanah. But if Rosh Hashanah was the first day, Rosh Hashanah was the early Rosh Hashanah, the day was Chas, the month was Chas, not Maleh, then they found out when Rosh Hashanah is the night after Rosh Hashanah.
They did 2 days.
Huh?
That's what they did 2 days. They did the first day. If they see
So
torches,
the Seder used to be, but Rosh Hashanah. So the truth is, before we had a machlekes Rashi Tosfos, right? Rashi tained that in the places, for example, where they had a suffix, they used to do Rosh Hashanah 1 day because Al Haroiv Elul was not Ma'uber. So they used to do Rosh Hashanah the first day, and they hoped Achirabim Lahatas that when the torches were there, it was no problem because if there's torches afterwards, great. You did Rosh Hashanah, you blew your shofar, you didn't do Malacha, you're good, even though you weren't sure it was Rosh Hashanah. If you didn't see your torches, okay, so tomorrow was Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, tomorrow you blew shofar, right? Tomorrow you didn't do Malacha. Tonight you had a meal for Yom Tov. You made Kiddush and whatever else you did. Yeah? Once that was over already, now you didn't have that anymore. So now it was all based on Shluchim. Once it's based on Shluchim, nobody knew when Rosh Hashanah was. Unless you lived near Bezdin. How are you going to know when Rosh Hashanah is? You need Shluchim to go out. So here Rashi believes that they always did 1 day. Al Haroiv. Later they found that they made a mistake. They made a mistake. What should they do? They blew shofar the wrong day. They're doing the best they can. Achirabim Lahatas. Torah wasn't given to angels. Tosfos says they always made 2 days. They used to make 2 days Rosh Hashanah. Till they found it. Like we do, yeah. That's what we do. The Chiddush Rosh Hashanah is, but Rosh Hashanah, the Chiddush is that even in Eretz Yisrael they do 2 days.
Yeah, even Bezdin, they did the first day.
That's what we learned in Beitzah, because even Bezdin, the first day, they would wait a whole day, because witnesses might come and you're not allowed to do Malacha. If witnesses come retroactively, you're not allowed to do Malacha, and you have to blow shofar, right? Yeah, they accepted till Mincha because of, again, another story. Because a whole other churban that happened. right? They waited and waited and waited, and they just came too late, and they already were makriv commercial ben harbaim, and not allowed to do any karbanas anymore, and all the karbanas for Rosh Hashanah couldn't be makriv. So that was a disaster. Shofar, you could blow. What happened? You blow shofar. You blow shofar the wrong day. You blew shofar the wrong day, but you could do the mitzvah of shofar. A carbon, you can't just bring a carbon. You can't just bring a carbon musaf to the azara. You're not let us stop bring an animal to the azara because you want to bring an animal. So over there was a problem. Zog the Gemarah. The question is, when did this happen? The story with the torches. We don't know. Apparently, it happened during Bayis Sheni. Why did it happen during Bayis Sheni? Why do I say? Because we learned in the previous Perek, the Mishnah said that Bisman Shebeis Hamikdash Hayakayim, the Shluchim would go out even for the month of Iyar, because Pesach Sheni they had to bring a carbon. That means that the Shluchim were already being used in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. The Mishnah says so clearly. That means this happened sometime during Bayis Sheni, when there were Kusim, of course. The Kusim were already there by the end of Bayis Rishon. So they were certainly there by Bayis Sheni. And at some point, we don't know exactly when, this travesty happened, and they changed the system, no more torches, only shluchim. The pella here is that the Yerushalmi says, in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, Perek Beis Halach Aleph, and Talmud Yerushalmi, it says, that Rabbi was the one who obliterated the Masuos. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, the editor of the Mishnah, he is the one who changed it. So the Ravid, and the Meiri quotes him, says this does not make sense. Rebbe was born approximately in the year 135 after the Common Era. Chazal say, Mishemes Rabbi Akiva, Noilad Rebbe. Rabbi Akiva was killed by the Romans, one of the Asur Malchus, around the Bar Kochva revolt time, around 60, 70 years after Churban Bayis Sheni, which was in the year 70. That's when Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi was born. So not only did he not live during Bayis Sheni, he wasn't even a baby during Bayis Sheni. He was born approximately 60 years, or a little more, after Churban Bayis Sheni, around 135 after the Common Era, and he lived till around 220 after the Common Era, and he added to the Mishnayos, all this. So he lived in the century after Churban Bayis Sheni. The Mishnah says clearly that the Shluchim, Bisman Shebeis Hamikdash Hayakayim, the Shluchim would go out Afal Iyar, because of Pesach Sheni. So what's going on there? If it started by Rebbe throughout Bayis Sheni, there were no Shluchim. There were only torches. You're not sending out Shluchim for the month of Iyar. You're lighting torches, Rich Chodesh Iyar. Everybody knows when Pesach Sheni is. And Rebbe's the one who wrote it. So he would know. He would know, or at least edited it. So it's a big pella. So the Ravid says something interesting, that the torches only were good for Bavel. They worked for Bavel because they had mountains. They had a system of mountains where you could get one mountain from another mountain, and it worked. But he says there were other countries like Syria and other countries on the sides that didn't have these mountains, and therefore the fires would not be visible. And over there, they used to send shluchim always. They had to send shluchim, but it wasn't a problem of 2 days because the shluchim didn't have to go too far. Bavel is far from Eretz Yisrael, so the torches really saved the day. You didn't have to do 2 days Yom Tov. That's the chiddush of the Ravid, that even before there was shluchim, but there was not a system of shluchim for everywhere. Afterwards, the shluch system was for everywhere. Okay, Zog the Gemarah. My mashma de masiyin lishna de yakoid. We say masiyin, masues means they kindled torches. Like, where do we know this from? That masiyin means lighting a fire. So the word Ksiv, there's a pasuk in Shmuel Beis, Perek Hey, pasuk Chaf Aleph. David HaMelech is victorious over the Philistines. Vayazvu sham es atzabeim, vayisaim David va'anashav. The Plishtim, after they ran, they left there their atzabeim are their deities, their gods. Like we say in Hallel, atzabeim, kesef v'zav, maisi yedei adam, yeah? Atzabeim means their gods, their deities are made of gold and silver. So they left their gods. Vayisaim David va'anashav. Now what does Vayisaim mean? You could say David and his men carried them, lifted them up. These were getchkelach. They were avodah zaros. Targumina, the Targum says, V'ukedin on David. Vayisaim means David torched them. He burnt them. He burnt them in fire. So here we already have in Tanakh, Masi and Masues, Vayisaim means he put them on fire. Zog the Gemarah, Tana Rabbanon. Why would it be called Vayisaim? So the Radak says, because the fire goes up. Miloshen nosayas rosh, right? You lift it up, kisisa, the fire by nature goes up. Tana Rabbana, and the rabbis taught, Ein Masiyin Masuyas El Ala Chodesh Nira Bizmanai. This is what Rashi was quoting. You did not light torches only a month, a moon that was visible in its time. What do we mean in its time? Of course, it means the first Bizmanai, like, if the moon is visible later, it's not on time. I mean, the moon is visible when it's visible. What makes it on time? Whenever it's visible, it's a time. Pshat, of course, is in the first possible time, right? The earlier time. Chodesh Nira Bizmanai, when you see the moon on day 30, and therefore, or the night of 30, and therefore the month only had 29 days. That's when they used to light the torches l'katshai, to let everybody know that this day became a holy day, because the Chodesh was nira bizmanai, meaning they saw the moon on the night of 30 or on the day of 30, and that day became Rosh Chodesh. Ve'emosai masiyah. When would they light the fire? When would they light it? La'oir iburei. La'oir iburei means oir. When the Gemarah says oir means night. Like in Pesachim we have oir l'arba asar boitkin asachametz, the night of 14. Now the Gemarah struggles there. How you know oir means night? L'cha'oir oir means day. So there's a whole sugya in Gemarah, and the conclusion is oir means night. La'oir ibur means the night of the ibur. What's the night of the ibur? Ibur is the 30th day. Why is ibur the 30th day? Because when you make a pregnant month, which day is it? The 30th day. That's always the day. Either it belongs to the old month or to the new month. So that's called Yom HaIbur, the pregnant day. In other words, the additional day. La'oir ibur means the night after the ibur. The night, Rashi says, La'oir ibur, La'erev Yom Shloshim, Nigi Lamed Aleph. The night before 31. Yom Shloshim Karo Yom Ibur, K'damrinan La'el, Al Shnei Adarim, Shemekachin Oisam B'Yom Ibureim. The two others, the Gemarah said, you make Rosh Chodesh on the day of the Ibur. Since that becomes the day 30 of the previous month, it's called Yom Ibur. Okay. So we just learned that the fire was always lit only when Rosh Chodesh was day 30. When was it lit? The day after. Here the Gemarah asks an interesting question. Should we say the Achaser of Dinah? When Rosh Chodesh was day 30 and the previous month was 29 days, they made a fire. They made this, they lit the torches. Amole, if the month was full, if the month had 30 days and Rosh Chodesh was day 31, lo yavdinon. You would not make a torch. Why? The Braisa clearly says, when did they do the masois? Lo oiri bure, the night after 30, not the night after 31. In other words, if Rosh Chodesh was day 31, they did nothing. Frag the Gemarah, my time. What was the reason? What's the question? Why didn't they do it both nights? Why didn't they do it in both situations each month? If Rosh Chodesh was day 30, kindle your torches day 30 at night. If Rosh Chodesh is day 31, kindle your torches day 31 at night. And people will say, if I see a torch, I know today was Rosh Chodesh. If I don't see a torch, today was not Rosh Chodesh. Tomorrow night, when I see a torch, I know that today was Rosh Chodesh. Now, what's the question of the Gemarah? Why stam make a torch twice? L'cha'ira, once you make a system that you only light torches when you have 29 days, so you're good. But the Gemarah is bothered by this.
What was the purpose of lighting it?
Everybody should know
For what?
when Rosh Chodesh was. But why not do both nights? L'cha'ira, the pshat is, because then you wouldn't have the crisis with the kusim. What was the problem with the kusim? Let's think about it. The problem was they manipulated the void, they seized the void, and they made their torches the night after 29. So I'm standing in Bavel, I see fire. I say, today was Rosh Chodesh. What happens tomorrow night? Nothing. It was Rosh Chodesh already. So I was deceived. We were all deceived. What happens if Bezdin had a policy that you make torches both nights? Then what would happen? Suddenly there would be torches. What was the problem here? The problem here was that it was a Me'uber. It was a month of 30 days, and the Kusim lied, and they made torches the night before. What happens if Bezdin would make torches the next night? Suddenly, I would see torches the next night. I'm like, whoa, somebody's lying. Why are there torches both nights? When was Rosh Chodesh? So either I would assume immediately the Kusim made trouble, and what? They made it a night early, but really today is Rosh Chodesh. I couldn't be sure about that because I could say it was also the other way around, right? Bezdin did it the first night, and the Kusim did it tonight. But one thing, I wouldn't be naive. I would stop and say, let me go find out. So at least places where you could send a shliach back to Bezdin to find out, you wouldn't have a problem. In other words, the question is, why not? You see, this is l'chayda. What's the Havana? Why should we have it both nights? If you would have it both nights, this travesty of the kusim couldn't have happened. They couldn't have gotten away with it the way they got away with it. Now you only do it one night, nobody suspected anything. Because Bezdin didn't have a comeback. They did it the night of 30 and everybody was deceived. So the Gemarah says, why didn't they do the mullah? Now you can answer, they didn't expect that people are going to be so corrupt. Right? So,
But once they did it.
no, the question was, l'chatchila, why?
Right.
The question is, l'chatchila, why?
Chatchila is not save money. We said
Huh?
we already established that.
The pashtus, you're saying,
Cheaper.
you mean, why make torches both nights? Why make torches both nights? Another Inyan is, the Turei Yevon writes, in Rosh Hashanah, the Shagas Aryeh says, Mipnei Chomer HaMoyadas. He says, since this was basically the source of everybody celebrating all the holidays, and it was a message not to Bezdin, it was a message to every single Jew. He says, Amaya Aretz, everybody. So he says, whenever you could be explicit with something, it's better than doing it not explicitly. And therefore, the Gemarah is bothered why they didn't make it clearly that this Rosh Chodesh is a day later by having torches again the next night. I'll call upon him, this the Gemarah is bothered by. Why not have both nights? Amalei lo yavdin in my time. Amar Reb Zayda said, I'll tell you why not. Very interesting answer. Zayda mishum Rosh Chodesh chaser. The problem is, there was a problem. They thought about this, but they thought, what happens if Rosh Chodesh is on day 30? Shechali is be'erev Shabbos. Rosh Chodesh happens to be on a Friday, and it happens to be day 30. So now let's think about this. Okay, if they're supposed to light torches both nights, Rosh Chodesh was Friday. When are they supposed to light torches? Friday night. Friday night, you're not allowed to light torches. Why? Chilul Shabbos is only overridden for the witnesses who come to observe the moon. But you can't notify the crowds about the new moon and desecrate Shabbos. You can't light a fire to notify people. Like we learned, the Shluchim are not allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos. The Eidis are allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos. To come to Bezdin and make Rosh Chodesh on time, you're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos. But to notify to everybody when Rosh Chodesh is, there's no room for Chilul Shabbos. Huh?
You can light a very slow fire. So it starts in the morning and it builds up by the time it's
Or get a good.
And then they're going to cook it to start.
No, you need one mountain, another mountain. It was a whole system. It was a whole huge system. So that Rosh Chodesh was Friday. Friday night they couldn't do it. So what do? What are they supposed to do? So let's think about this. Friday night they couldn't do it. Thursday night they couldn't do it. When did they have to do it? Motzei Shabbos. If there would be a system that you do it for both situations, when Rosh Chodesh is day 30, Rosh Chodesh is day 31, I come out Motzei Shabbos, I see a fire. What do I assume? That the month had 30 days. And Rosh Chodesh was on Shabbos, not on Friday. There's no way I'm not going to know. So this would create a crisis. You understand? And it's not unusual that Rosh Chodesh is going to be on a Friday. You can have Rosh Chodesh, not every month, but once in a while, Rosh Chodesh is going to be on a Friday. And there will be no way of people knowing. That's what the Gemarah answered. The Bezeda answered. Interesting answer. Rosh Chodesh Chas, Shechali is Be'erev Shabbos. Amos Avdi, when are they going to make the torches? Ba'apuke Shabbata, when Shabbos goes out, Motzei Shabbos. The Amrit now, understand, the Amrit Navid Nami Amalei, so if you say they should kindle torches not only for a month of 29 days, but also for a month of 30 days, that's what you're asking. Asulamiti, they may come to make a terrible error. Why? When they take a look at the torches Saturday night, Amri, they'll say, Hai Chaseru? Is it a month of 29 days? In other words, yesterday, Friday was already Aleph, right? Day 29 was Thursday. Day 30 was Friday. Day 31 was Shabbos. So really, Friday was already Rosh Chodesh because the month had 29 days. So why was there no torch last night? You can't. The Gemara doesn't even have to explain. Chilul Shabbos. Dilmar, maybe Malehu. The month had 30 days. In other words, Friday was still part of the old month. Ubizmana yavadu. And they actually lit the torch in the right time. Rosh Chodesh was today, Shabbos, day 31, and they lit it Motzei Shabbos, and there would be no way to know. Therefore, the Chachamim understood that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is only do the torches when the month is 29 days. Now you don't have a problem. If Rosh Chodesh is on a Friday, so what happens? Friday night you can't do it. Motzei Shabbos you'll do it. Nobody's going to think that the month had 30 days. Why? Because the month had 30 days, you don't do anything. Why are they lighting torches Motzei Shabbos? They understand Pashut. They couldn't light. Usually they would not light the night before. Last night, because it's the night after 30. They couldn't. It was Shabbos. So they pushed it off a night. But nobody would make this mistake because they never do it when it's Malay. That's Reb Zayda's answer. Frag the Gemarah.
What difference does it make going forward what day Rosh Chodesh is?
What do you mean?
Meaning that that's going to come the end of the Chodesh. If it was wrong, it wasn't Shabbos, there will be a light on the 29th.
No, if Rosh Chodesh was on a Shabbos, right? So
then
then Pesach is a day later. If Rosh Chodesh was Friday, Pesach is a day earlier.
But you could send shlichim throughout the month getting them.
But what do you need shluchim? That's the whole idea. You light a fire, everybody knows that night. What do you have to send shluchim? And then some places they don't reach. It's much better, of course. You gain.
They reach through the mountains
of course. First of all, you don't have to pay money for shluchim. Second of all, you don't have to bother people. Third of all, everybody finds out. That's the biggest thing. They didn't need shluchim, yeah. Frag the Gemarah, Velevet. Huh? It could be. The Ravid says that for some places where they didn't have mountains. Velevet, Beina Mole, Beina Chaser. Asks the Gemarah, I still don't understand. Why don't you do it for both? Cipher a Mole, cipher a Chaser. Every Rosh Chodesh make a fire after Rosh Chodesh. V'chi mikla Rosh Chodesh b'erev Shabbos. And when Rosh Chodesh comes out to be Friday, loy levet klal. That year, don't do anything. Don't do anything. That month, don't do anything. V'kiv and the loyavdin on Motzei Shabbos. When it comes Motzei Shabbos, I'm waiting. Where are my torches? Nothing is happening. V'avdina namole. But usually we do torches even for a month of 30 days. Made the yadi the chaseru. Automatically, I know that the month had 29 days.
They didn't do it because of no Shabbos.
Right. So it's a beautiful system. Really, we should light a torch every single Rosh Chodesh, no difference. If it's day 30, day 31, the night after, light a torch, it becomes clear, no problems. I have a problem, Rosh Chodesh is Friday. I let everybody know, listen, we have a principle. If Rosh Chodesh is going to be Friday, we're not lighting this year at all. Why? Because if we light Motzei Shabbos, you're going to think it's because Rosh Chodesh was today, Shabbos. We can't light Friday night. That year you don't light at all. So now Motzei Shabbos comes. If they light a flame, you know Rosh Chodesh was on Shabbos. If they don't light anything, you know it's that unique situation where Rosh Chodesh was on Friday. Doesn't happen always, but it sometimes happens. And they couldn't light Friday night, and therefore they were stuck, and they don't light at all. So there's one situation where they don't light, and from that gufa you know when Rosh Chodesh was. So the Gemarah, it won't work. Afilu hachi asilamiti. They're still going to come to make a mistake. You know why? When they see that there's no torch Motzei Shabbos, they might say, Amri, they might say, Hi Malehu. Really, it's a month of 30 days. And Rosh Chodesh was today, 31. Why didn't they light? Isnusei hudi isnusei. It was an oinus.
You would say the same thing.
It was an oinus. What's the oinus? Rashi tainis. Made the yadi the chaser. Rashi says isnuse b'shikrus shel mishtah haShabbos. They got drunk. They got drunk in the Shabbos meals. It's a Shabbos.
What did they do when it was raining?
Shabbos, you got to celebrate.
They did anyway.
They did it anyway when it rained. It was pouring rain. The fire's not happening.
Hurricane.
No hurricanes. Yeah.
This is a source of the Kiddush Club. B'shikra shel mishtah haShabbos, at the feast of Shabbos, at the feast Suda Shabbos, they got drunk, the whole Yerushalayim, and that's what happened. That's what they're going to tie in. In other words, you're still not certain. Why? Because really they're going to say it was a male. They're not sure that you didn't light it because it was a chaser, and therefore you don't light it this year. Maybe really you should have lit it. Why? Because it was a male, and a male you should light. But since it's after Shabbos, they'll give it an excuse, and still they won't be sure. Frag the Gemarah, you know what? Let's do the other way. V'levad amale, v'levad achaser. why don't we make a system that they light torches only on a mole and not on a chaser? Do it the other way around. If Rosh Chodesh is day 30, you don't light. If Rosh Chodesh is day 31, then you light. So now, if Rosh Chodesh happens to be on a Friday, so then you never light. Why? Because it was day 30. Day 30 you don't light. If Rosh Chodesh happens to be on Shabbos, which is day 31, you light Motzei Shabbos, right? Now, therefore, if Rosh Chodesh is on a Friday, you don't light at all, and everybody understands why, because the Chodesh is Chaser. Chodesh Chaser you don't light. Huh? If Rosh Chodesh was on Thursday, no, so then you don't light Thursday night. We're saying light only on the mole. Light only on the mole. So therefore, Motzei Shabbos, they take a look. If there's a torch, they know.
Friday was Shabbos.
Friday was not Rosh Chodesh. The month had 30 days, and therefore day 31 became Rosh Chodesh, and you're doing on the mole. And if not. If they don't see a torch, that means what? It was a chaser, and there was no torch. That's the question. So Rashi says, why don't you say here the same thing? They're going to say, there was no torch. And the reason there was no torch was because they were drunk. How are you going to know? So Rashi explains. Huh?
Said about everything. It was really the 29th, but they were drunk on the 29th.
No, we say it on Shabbos. Shabbos is justification. Stop drinking Friday, Thursday, that's that's already.
But they have a job to light.
This
is Moshav Leitzin.
Huh?
It's like a designated driver. They know they're not supposed to.
Shabbos is Shabbos. Shabbos, you don't think about Messiah Shabbos. Zok Rashi v'levad amoli v'leya chaser. Yeah. Zok Rashi. V'levad amoli v'leya chaser v'chimikler Rosh Chodesh chaser b'erev Shabbos. So for Rosh Chodesh is erev Shabbos and the month had 29 days. V'leya avdinon, and there's no torch. Meida yadi the chaseru. They know that it was a month of 29 days. That's why there was no torch Friday night, for sure, but even Motzei Shabbos. V'loy talu b'shikris, ela b'midah d'shchia. They're not going to say there was no torch because people are drunk. They're going to say there was no torch because of something that's common. What's common? That the month had 29 days. The chol chadashim chasedim lo yavdinon. No months of 29 days do you do it. V'hainami lo yavid, so you didn't do it. In other words, Rashi is telling us al yisoid. If I see there's no torch, and I could say there's no torch because the guys were drunk, or there's no torch because Rosh Chodesh was on day 30. Which one do you say? You say that which is common. Remember, 6 months out of the year there's no torch. So today there's also no torch. 6 months, 5 months, 7 months, whatever it is.
No matter what day of the week it is.
No matter what day of the week, when Rosh Chodesh is on day 30, there's no torch. So Motzei Shabbos, there's no torch. You're going to say they're drunk. Why should you attribute it to something that's completely uncommon? That dafka the people lighting the fire got drunk, right? When you can attribute it to the normal thing. 5 months a year there's no torch. 6 months a year there's no torch. 7 months a year there's no torch. We're talking about in the Hava minute that a chassid doesn't have a torch. So mainly you'll attribute it to that. In the previous situation, however, what was the previous situation? The previous situation was that you do it on Mole and Chaser, but whenever Rosh Chodesh is Erev Shabbos, you never do it. You never do it. Huh? You never do it. When Rosh Chodesh is Erev Shabbos, you never do it. That's not a very common thing. It's not a common thing. There's no torch. Every month there's a torch. Mole Chaser. Now when you don't see a torch Motzei Shabbos, you could say two things. One is, it was Rosh Chodesh, Erev Shabbos, Chaser, which is not a very common thing, and that's why there was no torch. Or, they were drunk. It's already one uncommon thing against another uncommon thing. That's the svara. See, that's why it actually puts in this whole cheshbon here. Like, talu b'shikris ela b'midah d'shchiach. Important, because if not, the whole Gemarah doesn't make sense. So now the question is, so why do we do the chaser, not the mole? Amar Abaye mishum bittul melacha la'am shnei yamim. Pashut. You don't want to take away the people from working 2 days. Zok Rashi. Amar Abaye mishum bittul melacha v'lo garsin in gzeida. Don't say gzeida mishum bittul melacha. It's not a gzeida. It's a vart. It's a din. Very interesting cheshbon. If you only light the torches when there's 30-day month, not 29-day month, every Rosh Hashanah you're taking away 2 days of work from all the Jews living in the exile. Why? Yom Lamed, day 30, they're waiting all day. Shema Hayom Rosh Hashanah, you're not allowed to work. Right? Now, the night after 30, you're saying there's no torches because you're only doing torches the next night. So now night 31, Yom Shloshim ve'echad, again they can't work. Shema Ibru Asachodesh Hayom Rosh Hashanah. Maybe Rosh Hashanah is a day later. So basically, you take away work from people for 2 days.
Like we do now.
Yes. But if you do the torches when the month is 29 days, already the night after 30, day 30 was Rosh Hashanah. Tomorrow is a regular day. You can go to work. They will taka only not work 2 days if it's taka mitzias where Rosh Hashanah was delayed later. Then I don't have a choice. You have to take off 2 days. That's what Hashem wants. You have to do it delayed. But if you could stam to take away people from halacha that they need, we don't want to do. So when you have a choice to do it this way or this way, you do the masuos for chaser, not for malay. So you can't do it for both. You do it for one, and you do it for the chaser, not to take away people from one.
I'm curious, they light on Yom Tov. They light the masos on Rosh Hashanah.
On Motzei Yom Tov.
Motzei Yom Tov.
Why would they do Motzei Yom Tov? Why would they do
Nighttime. Nighttime. They want to do it
No,
nighttime.
I'm saying why Motzei Yom Tov? Why if it was the Erev Rosh Hashanah was on Monday, and if the Rosh Chodesh was on Monday, they would do it Monday night.
Yeah.
Now,
If Rosh Chodesh was day 30 and it was Monday, they did it Monday night. Yeah.
and anyway, it's 1 day, it's right.
Huh? Only by chaser, not mole. They only did it by one. Why only by one? We explained because the problem of Rosh Chodesh, that's Friday. If they're doing it by one, why they choose this one over this one? Abaye says, why not notify them a day early so they can go to work the next day? Bittul malach is a big thing in halacha. To take away people from work, it's ruining the economy. It's women, it's men have to do things. First of all, in terms of money and in terms of different activities, you don't want to do bittul malacha when you don't have to. It's not a.
How does it really work in reality? We learned before that by the shkia is the only time they take the itis.
No.
But if they know already by the shkia.
No.
Let's say a regular week.
No.
Monday is the 29th day, and then we'll do Rosh Chodesh.
So Rosh Chodesh could be Tuesday, yeah. If Monday is 29, no.
Is Rosh Chodesh Tuesday?
If Eidos come, yeah.
So when did they makabel the itis? Monday.
They could be makabel. No, Monday is 29. You're not being makabel. You're not going to see the moon 29.
So when did they makabel itis?
Tuesday.
When did they kavai Rosh Chodesh?
Throughout Tuesday. Could be from Tuesday morning till Tuesday evening. A whole Tuesday.
And then when did they light the fire?
Tuesday night.
So they knew that a day before was.
Yes, Tuesday is Rosh Chodesh. Tuesday night, the torches were lit. That night, the whole Jewish, the Klal Yisrael knew when Rosh Chodesh is. Unless you lived in New Zealand, tomorrow, yeah. Unless you lived in New Zealand, everybody knew when Rosh Chodesh was immediately.
When the light went on, they knew that a day before was Rosh Chodesh.
Yes. When the torches were burning, I knew the previous day was Rosh Chodesh.
You only did it on Chaser, not on Malay.
Only Chaser. In other words, if Rosh Chodesh was day 30, that was Tuesday, let's say, right? So Tuesday was Aleph. Tuesday night, you knew that today was Aleph, tomorrow is Beis.
So the next Rosh Chodesh.
How can they celebrate Rosh Hashanah? They celebrate Rosh Hashanah ala Safek, on the doubt.
So they always did the.
They always made the first day as though it was Rosh Hashanah. They didn't go to work. They blew shofar. And remember, in most cases, Elul was 29 days, so they got it right. If not, they did a second day Rosh Hashanah. They did a second day.
They'll see the fires at 20.
If they see the fire Tuesday night,
No, if they don't see it, then they know it's Mula.
Depends. If they see the fire Tuesday night, they know Rosh Hashanah was Tuesday.
And they did good.
And they did well. If they don't see the fire Tuesday night,
They're going to keep
so Wednesday is Rosh Hashanah. So Tuesday night they'll go home, they'll make Kiddush, they'll have a meal, and tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah.
So they could find out the middle of the meal that, oh, Rosh Hashanah was already.
Yeah.
By the time of the light.
They waited. No, they did it right at night. It didn't take long, this. It's a mice of a few minutes. Boom, yeah. Mountain to mountain to mountain. Huh?
Still always after the fact.
After the Rosh Chodesh. They couldn't. How could they do it differently? You're going to light a torch the night before?
They don't know yet.
You don't know.
So
What are you going to do? Light a torch the night before?
Besides
It's like a guy once said that he was in Australia, yeah, and it was 7 p.m., yeah, and so he heard 7 p.m. somebody died. Yes, Chava died. So he took a Concorde and he came 6 p.m. So he came before the guy died, yeah.
But what about now these days?
But
When we absolutely know when the moon is,
No.
we don't celebrate it on that day.
We don't
We're not-
celebrate.
Our calendar is fixed, and sometimes it's not the full moon. It's not the empty moon. It's not aligned with the actual sky. So why don't we actually, if it's clear, and it doesn't take an expert to see how clear it is that this is the new moon, but the calendar says it's a different day. Why don't we just make it what it really is?
What do you mean the calendar says a different day? We announce when the Moilad is every
Right,
month.
Today.
Yeah, we announce when the conjunction is.
But we don't celebrate the. We don't.
Rosh Chodesh
we
is
don't
after
adjust
that.
the calendar.
Why should we adjust? The calendar is fixed in a way that it works.
Right, but it's not always in accordance with the sky,
In what sense?
the moon, the full moon, the new moon.
How more or less it is. I mean, what's
We're talking about the 2 days of Chodesh. Mala,
what was done Rosh Chodesh besides Karbunas?
nothing.
Nothing. So it's not really a big difference, only Rosh Hashanah.
For people not living in the Beis Hamikdash, it wasn't so relevant. I mean, davening, when they started to put in Musaf, over there was a
But
difference.
that was after there was no fires that time. No, I'm saying.
No, they were Masak and Musaf. But if you don't know, you don't know. What should you do?
but that's the day after. You lit the torch.
You're right. If you didn't know it's
after,
Rosh
so
Chodesh, you didn't know it's Rosh
say.
Chodesh.
So according to this,
You're right. Rosh
every-
Hashanah, you couldn't work, so you couldn't work. Rosh Chodesh, a lot of work.
But every Rosh Chodesh, basically, they did, I guess, because they had a sub, they didn't know if it's going to be Rosh Chodesh or not. They started, after the 29th, they made Rosh Chodesh. If there was a torch, if it was a chaser, so they knew that they had the
Yeah,
right day.
yeah.
It's not that 2 days
I mean,
Rosh Chodesh.
listen, in the outside communities, it wasn't so relevant because they didn't have to do much. It's not like they couldn't go to work. So, Rosh Hashanah, you can go to work.
So for that month, for Rosh Hashanah, or for the 3 Yom Tovim that there is, we could have said before that the shluchim were very expensive or whatever. We're talking about 2 times a year. That makes a difference.
It makes a difference for every
Because it's already it's after
You have
the fact.
Av is Tisha B'Av, and Kislev is Chanukah, and Adar is Purim. In time of the Beis Hamikdash, Iyar was Pesach Sheni. I mean, they used to send them out for 6 months. The shluchim they got for 6 months. You had to know when Chanukah was, when Purim was. These were all in Beis Sheni.
Shluchim because of the expense. That was the reason they didn't send shluchim.
First of all, the expense. Second of all, the biggest thing is the time. You get to notify people in 10 minutes, or you get to notify people in 3 weeks.
It's not 3 weeks. If a torch could do it in 10 minutes, we're talking.
No, the shluchim have to go all the way to Bavel. Well, how are you going to do it?
The fire would go.
They see it. You could see it for miles.
Speed of light.
You could see it for miles, of course. Of course. That's why when there were no shluchim, when there were torches, nobody had to make 2 days Yom Tov. There was no concept of 2 days Yom Tov. Everybody knew when Yom Tov was. The whole concept of 2 days Yom Tov only happens after the shluchim. So you understand what a benefit there was. There was no concept of 2 days. Everybody made no 2 days Yom Tov. Everybody knew when Pesach is. Everybody knew when Yom Kippur. Everybody knew when Sukkot is. How not? I'm living in Pumpadissa, right? Or wherever I'm living. I don't need shluchim to travel. That night, I knew already. I'm a chaya.
Before he returned, when they were building, first they built the foundation, and then it was on pool. What was the mindset with they had Korban, the Korban for Rosh Chodesh after the bias, after they returned, they started building the bias because they had him as dad.
Yeah.
So how would they announce the moment? Did they have a base then?
Yeah, Ezra himself was a member of the Sanhedrin.
So at that point, when they were doing it off the area, did they have torches?
If they had torches, yeah.
So they had torches, even though.
Yeah.
So as soon as they started announcing doing the Korban, Rosh
You want to know if during the first Beis Hamikdash,
No, I'm saying-
when most Jews were living in Israel, if they still had
No, I'm
torches.
saying between the interregnum.
Oh, once they went to Bavel, yeah.
They came back from Bavel.
Yeah, they had to have
And
torches.
as soon as they came back,
Yeah.
they reinstituted torches.
Or they reinstituted, or once there were so many Jews in the diaspora, they instituted
So
it.
when the issue was when
Probably.
there was a diaspora,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when
of
that-
course. That was the advantage.
Sahara was never in Gold, it was always introduced in Israel.
Yeah. Generally, that was the place.
They were moving
In Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, yeah. Eretz Yisraal.
So the problem was only when somebody got the mitzvah Chodesh, if you could do the tzarevim, then it would be a problem.
If somebody got Bar Mitzvah Rosh Chodesh, and you don't know if today is Rosh Chodesh, then you taka have to wait.
You never knew.
Then you taka have to wait. In fact, once there were shluchim, nobody could celebrate a birthday anymore. You didn't know when your birthday was, right?
Oh, meaning you have to wait.
You had to wait till the shluchim come. If my birthday is Yud Aleph Tishrei, and I want to make a bar mitzvah, right? I don't know when Yud Aleph Tishrei is. But it's not halachically, it's not a problem. So you don't know when your birthday is. You don't know if your birthday is going to be Sunday or Monday. It's not a problem. So you'll make the bar mitzvah a night later. What's the problem?
So you write on the invitation.
So you can be mitzvah from to a minyan for one more day. It's not a problem. He could do all the mitzvahs a day early. Let's say he's a cotton, so he's doing it as chinuch. It's not a problem. Halachically, it's not a problem to make a bar mitzvah a day early. There's no issue with that. You understand? The only big thing is the birthday cake.
So you write the
That's the
invitation
big problem.
2 days after the shluchim come.
Yeah. Yeah. You couldn't send out a wedding invitation 2 months in advance and say it's going to be on Monday, Yud Beis Cheshvan. That didn't exist. Even in Eretz Yisrael, you couldn't do it. You didn't know which day is going to be the day of the month till that month.
Is the new moon when it's completely empty or when it just starts to give light?
Generally, what we call the new moon, generally, there are different opinions, but the majority of opinions is the moment of conjunction. Conjunction means when you have in one line a lineup of the sun here, the moon here, the sun here, right, and the moon here, and the earth here. There's a lineup: sun, moon, earth. That's called moilad, the moment of conjunction. That moment, there's no way you could see the moon because the bright side of the moon is facing the sun away from the earth. That's called the moment of the moilad, conjunction, birth. From that moment, right, starts the new moon. As the moon starts moving from west to east, it moves further east, and the angle basically turns a bit, and at that point, it will become more and more visible because it's turning away a little bit from the sun.
So having this calendar, having this calendar that the new moon was May 25th, but the first of the month was May 26th. So
It was always that way. Understand? For them to make a new moon, a new month, they had to see the moon. You're not seeing the moon by the moilad. Nobody sees the moon by the conjunction. The earliest you could see the moon is approximately 24 hours after conjunction. So Rosh Chodesh was always the next day. You understand?
So
Rosh Chodesh can't be at the moment of conjunction.
So we don't adjust the calendar to be the first is the day that the moon was.
So so our calendar is fixed in a way that it should work itself out. Remember, we have another issue. You can't even make it exact because
Sometimes it's in a day.
and the main thing is that the orbit finishes after 29 and a half days. You can't make Rosh Chodesh a half a day. You understand? So if it finishes after 29 and a half days, 29 days and 12 hours, and a little more than that, so what do you do now? You make 12 hours Rosh Chodesh, and the first 12 hours are not Rosh Chodesh. You can't do that. You need a full day Rosh Chodesh. So that's why some months are 29 days. So you do Rosh Chodesh early, right after day 29, the night of 30. Even though you're still in the old month, you already start a new month. And some months you go the opposite. You understand? You do Rosh Chodesh day 31. So day 30 is still the old month, even though middle of day 30 You're starting your new month. And that's why 6 months we do 29 days. 6 months we do 30 days, and it works itself out. Yeah. There's actually 2 months that we alternate. Cheshvan and Kislev are sometimes 29, sometimes 30, and sometimes one or the other. There's 2 months we alternate, because it's not exactly 12 hours. It's not exactly 29 days and 12 hours. If it would be more comfortable. But the moon doesn't always cooperate. Never cooperates.
So what the Gemarah says is the mice that you do it only on Chaser. So it could be that you have 2 days.
Chodesh?
No, it's that there is not. We're gonna have only 1 day.
You'll never have a problem.
If you do it only on,
you'll never be a problem.
You're not doing it on
Malay, only Chaser.
But they're waiting for the whole 29 day for the whole 30 day to see if there's going to be.
They wait day 30 and they see if there's torches that night.
Yeah, but what he's saying is, if there's the 30th day of Chodesh,
no.
So they kept the first day because they were waiting.
They're waiting the 30th.
And now the fire doesn't come, they're going to have another
31st.
They'll keep another day. Only Rosh Hashanah you'll have that problem.
They have 2 days.
Only Rosh Hashanah might they have 2 days.
Other
Yom Tovim you'll never have a problem.
Because it doesn't.
Because by day 15, only Rosh Hashanah will you have.
Only when it's small.
And only when it's smaller. If it's Chaser, they see the torch. They know today was Rosh Hashanah, and tomorrow you go to work.
If they would light,
but they did already the shayfer.
If they would light by Mali, not by Chaser, so then you would always have to make 2 days because you're never sure if today was Rosh Hashanah, tomorrow is Rosh Hashanah, because the torches are only being lit tomorrow. So unless you lived around Bezdin and you heard what's going on, if you lived even further in Eretz Yisrael, there's nothing you can do. Remember, Shluchim couldn't come on Rosh Hashanah, it's at Tchum Yom Tov, Tchum Shabbos. So you had to right away do 2 days. So this was a tremendous advantage.
You make a bracha on shayfer and everything on a suffix that if it's Yom Tov or not.
Listen,
meaning if it's...
Good question. They probably, you want to know if they blew shofar with a bracha, without a bracha. You're asking if they blew outside of Yerushalayim, if they blew shofar with a bracha, without a bracha. On one hand, you're saying suffix bracha is lahakal, so you do it without a bracha because you're not sure.
But today we also do the suffix.
Yeah, no, but today we don't do it misafik.
It's Yom Tov.
Today we do minig aviseinu b'yadeinu. We know when Rosh Hashanah is. We do a bracha because they were misakin. Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golis. They were misakin Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golis.
That you find out that this was that Monday was Rosh Hashanah.
I'll tell you an interesting question that the Minchas Chinuch raises. The Minchas Chinuch in Mitzvah's essay Daled, he asks the following question. He says as follows. Interesting shaila. You have 2 witnesses, okay? You hear? Who come to Bezdin. Okay. They say we saw the new moon last night. Last night was 29 at night. We saw the new moon. Mazel Tov. Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh. Great. No problem. Now, 2 other witnesses come and they turn out to be Eidim Zayim and liars. 2 other witnesses say, I don't understand. You're saying you saw the new moon. We were with you a whole night, 29, at a chasana somewhere. It's a geshiket, it's a gehulet. You're liars. 2 witnesses come and say that the first 2 Eidos are absolute liars, false. It's called Eidim Zayim. And we believe the second set of witnesses. That's how it works. If they say, Imanu Ayisim, you were with us a whole night, you didn't see no moon, it was Hakster Chainik, we saw you in bed, you went to sleep, or you were Bechal in a different city. Okay, so what happens?
When did they come? Before the fires was dead?
Whenever they came. So the Eidus is bottle. And that's not Rosh Chodesh anymore, right? It's a day later. What's the problem here? Problem is this. The 2 second sets, that's 2 second witnesses that came, they became bar mitzvah that day. They became bar mitzvah that day. Rosh Chodesh, day 30, okay? To be kosher eidus, to be a kosher witness, you have to be bar mitzvah. Okay. So when the first witnesses came and said, today is Rosh Chodesh, so these 2 guys became bar mitzvah. Okay, because they're bar mitzvah. So now they're on the day. So now they're good edus. So they come to Bezdin and they say these guys are liars. So Bezdin says, okay, fine. So if they're liars, it's not Rosh Chodesh. So if it's not Rosh Chodesh, you're not bar mitzvah. So if it's not bar mitzvah, you're not edus. So if you're not edus, we have to believe the first guys. If you believe the first guys, it's Rosh Chodesh. So you are bar mitzvah. So you are edus. So we can't believe them. If we can't believe them, right, then you're not bar mitzvah anymore. So you're not edus. So we could believe them. Minchas Chinuch's question.
Wow, but it's such a two edus that both of them are getting bar mitzvah.
Yeah, but the concept he wants to
By the
understand.
time he's finished dining, the taki bar mitzvah. So.
That's a Minchas Chinuch's question. What does Bezdin do in this situation?
Throw them all out, get new ones.
Huh? No, but it's an interesting question. You understand? This is what we call the catch-22 situation. You're accepting their edus, right? Why are you accepting their edus? Because they're bar mitzvah. But if you accept their edus retroactively, they're always bar mitzvah. These are interesting paradoxes in halacha, how that works.
It could be that Rosh Hashanah, back to what we were saying before, is the suffix Rosh Hashanah, and that was in the end of the day, the suffix became Rosh Hashanah.
Huh?
It would be that young, if they see the torch lit, when they had the suffix, meaning they didn't know yet if it's if it was a chaser. So again, Rosh Hashanah could be a chaser or a mal. It doesn't make a difference. But
Generally, Elul was 29 days. We learned before that Rav said from Ezra till Rav, they never had Elul 30 days. Usually Elul was 29 days. 29, yeah, usually. There were situations after not, but generally, from Ezra till Rav, for hundreds of years, Elul was 29 days. That's why most Jews could assume that Rosh Hashanah is day 30. They didn't have to question it. It wasn't always that way, that case. But let's take a look at Tosfos, who clarifies different details in the sugya. Chav Beis Amid Beis, the last Tosfos, Gzeirim Rishum Rosh Chodesh Chaser Shechol is bed of Shabbos. What is the Gemarah saying? Reb Zayda said the reason you don't do Mala, you only do Chaser is because of a situation when Rosh Chodesh is going to be on Friday, and because it's on Friday, you can't light it Friday night. You want to light it the next day, and if you light it the next day, you want people to be sure that you're lighting it for a Rosh Chodesh that was 30, not a Rosh Chodesh that was 31. They shouldn't get confused. So Tosfos just makes a ha'ara. Hachenami, just to clear it, to be clear, Hachenami of a Matzil Meima. The Gemarah could have also said, for the same price, that the reason we don't light torches when the month had 30 days is Mishum Rosh Chodesh Malei Shechali is b'Shabbos. If Rosh Chodesh would be on Shabbos, but Shabbos would be what? Day 31. And if you would be lighting torches, also when Rosh Chodesh is day 31, so you're going to have to light torches Mitzvah Shabbos. And then people are not going to know. Are you lighting torches because Rosh Chodesh was today? Or you're lighting torches because Rosh Chodesh was yesterday, but you couldn't do it yesterday. It was Shabbos, so you did it today. So you'll have again the same confusion. So that's the reason that you will not light it for Maleh, because if Rosh Chodesh Maleh, one reason is Rosh Chodesh is Friday and it's a Chassid. Another reason is Rosh Chodesh is not Friday. Rosh Chodesh is not kapushed of the Shabbos. The same idea. But again, you're lighting it Mitzvah Shabbos, and why are you lighting it Mitzvah Shabbos? I don't know. Are you lighting it for yesterday, or you're lighting it for today? For the same reason that he explains, he can't do it Friday night, and you have the same confusion. Okay. So the Gemarah said, next step what? So I understand. You can't do it Moleh. Frag the Gemarah, do it Moleh and Chaser, and in this Kviyas, when Rosh Chodesh is out of Shabbos, just don't do anything. So the Gemarah says, no, you may come to a problem. What's the problem? That even in this situation, Rosh Chodesh is out of Shabbos, and you don't do anything, right? You don't do it. And you don't know why they don't do it. Do they not do it because Rosh Chodesh was on Friday? Or really, Rosh Chodesh was on Shabbos? And when Rosh Chodesh is on Shabbos, you're supposed to do it. But the problem is oinus. So therefore, this would not work. Zok Tosfos. Okay, now we're going to ask your question. Okay. So let's understand the Gemarah. You can't do it on a mole. Why can't you do it on a mole? Because you're going to run into problems. Rosh Chodesh Friday, you're not going to do anything. Right? So Mitzvah Shabbos, nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen because Rosh Chodesh was yesterday. People are going to get confused. Why are they going to get confused? They're going to say to themselves, maybe it was really today. There's no candles, no torches. Shikris, Einus. So we want people should not be able to make that mistake. How are we avoiding that mistake? By saying that for day 31, there's absolutely no torches. So there's no thing to say, Rosh Chodesh was today, and why are there no torches? Because on Einus. We're not going to say that. We're going to say no torches means
31 we don't do.
It's a 31 we don't do. We don't do torches. Fine. I don't understand. Vim time. Now also, the loy avdu amalikla. We made a takana that when the Rosh Chodesh is day 31, we will not light any torches. Right? So therefore it's not a shaila. Day 31, there's no torches. So therefore we don't have any problem whatsoever. So if Rosh Chodesh is on a Friday and it's a chaser, whenever there's torches, we know it's only for a chaser, never for a mal. He said, I don't understand. You still will make a mistake. Let's say Rosh Chodesh falls out on Shabbos, and it's Rosh Chodesh of day 31. Are they doing torches? No. Why? Because it's a male. So if you see a torch, you know that Rosh Chodesh was Friday. If you don't see a torch, what do you say?
It's 31.
No problem. Rosh Chodesh was Shabbos. If there would have been yesterday, there would have been a torch. It's today, there's no torch, right? Because we made mole, there is no torch. I don't understand. You'll have the same problem. They'll make a mistake. Hi, Chaser. Really, Rosh Chodesh was on a Friday. They couldn't light it Friday night because it was Shabbos. They had to push it off. And you know why they didn't make torches Mitzvah Shabbos? Mitzvah Shabbos is snusa. Shabbos, there was Mitzvah Shabbos, there was an oinus. They were coerced. It was beyond their control. Therefore, they didn't do it. So you're stuck. I don't understand.
They need problem. Much more people to be drunk.
You have your same problem?
They need much more people because since Friday they know it's Rosh Chodesh. Then they getting ready already from Friday. When they getting ready on Shabbos, it's already Shabbos. The Eidus came on.
No, they got everything ready Friday, but they got drunk on Shabbos. They went to sleep. Mitzvah Shabbos.
You need everybody drunk. The shluchim, the Beis Din, everybody needs to be drunk.
Now. You mean?
You have people that goes out.
Oh, you mean the shluchim for the torches?
For the torches.
All you need is the guy with the license for the fireworks. It's a cool guy.
The guy with the permit.
The guy with the permit.
For trunken.
They're a professional guy. Everybody came to do it.
They're saying Cyrus Chodesh, Sai Shabbos, and there was a big kiddush that the Gemarah is taking for granted. There was a huge kiddush. Yeah.
No, Kiddush Tzemach Tzedek is bad. Kiddush in Tzemach Tzedek is bad. You don't want to be Tzemach Tzedek. You want to go to Beis Menachem maybe.
I'll call upon him. So this is your shaila. What did you gain? What did you gain? You told me you had a major problem. The problem is what? If you're going to eliminate the concept of the torches whenever Rosh Chodesh is on a Friday, so therefore you're just done with it, so therefore there'll never be a chashash. Why will there never be a chashash? Because when you see torches Mitzvah Shabbos, you'll always know that it's for day 31, because for Friday there's no torches. My problem is that's good, but my problem is if there's no torch Mitzvah Shabbos. Do I say it's because chaser, or I say because shikris? So Taisa says, I don't understand. Very good. This is a good suffix. But now you have a problem. Whenever you don't see a torch, right? So in the middle of the week, I'm not chosh that people are getting drunk. That the Gemarah is not chosh. Okay, that we're taking. You have to understand. If we're chosh is that, then any single night you could say there's really Rosh Chodesh. Really Rosh Chodesh was, and there's no torches because the guy is drunk. You're not going to say that every single night of the week. Today was really Rosh Chodesh. There's no torches because he's drunk. We're not going to say that. We're going to say it's day 31. Fine. But my problem is, comes Shabbos, and the same issue. What your same issue? Mitzvah Shabbos comes and you don't see torches. What do you say? We say because why? Rosh Chodesh was today. Says no, you're drunk. A very strong question. V'yesh loymar zok Tosfos v'heiche de vadei avdi la'olam masuos beina mole beina chaser. In a situation where we would institute that they always do torches, which is what the Gemarah wanted to suggest. Say if it's mole, say if it's chaser. In other words, 12 months a year there are torches. Every Rosh Chodesh there's a torch, whether it's mole or chaser. Then, kiloi avdi klal. When you look up and you see nothing, vada yitlu ba'oinus. You're going to attribute it something unusual happened. Since every single day, every single month is a torch, so when you see no torch, you're going to say there has to be epis and oinus, and therefore you're not going to know if it's a mole or it's a chaser. That's what the Gemarah is saying. Why you're not going to know? Because in this situation, when Rosh Chodesh was on a Friday, and it comes Motzei Shabbos, and you look up and you see no torch, you could say two things. You could say there's no torch. Why? Because Rosh Chodesh was Friday, which is not usual. It happens once in a while. Or you could say, no, Rosh Chodesh was Shabbos, but people got drunk. Remember, we're used to a torch every single month. So here we might say it's because of an oinus. Aval hashta de zimnin avdi v'zimnin lo yavdi. But now that sometimes you make a torch. In other words, when it's chaser. And sometimes you don't make a torch, which may be half of the months of the year. Ki lo yavdi hashta b'mitzay Shabbos. So when you see Mitzvah Shabbos, there's no torch, and you don't know, is it because it's Mole, it's day 31 and there's no torch, or because of Einus, Lo yitolu b'Einus. You're not going to say that it was a chaser, and the reason they didn't light is because forced. Ela b'milsa d'shchicha. You're going to attribute it to the common reason. What's the common reason? Half of the year you don't do a torch. Why? Because it's a Chodesh Mole. You're not going to say the reason they didn't do a torch is because Bezdin or their representatives got shikr, and therefore even if it was a Chodesh Chassid, they didn't do it. That's what Tosfos is masber. That's why, really, this vart, you had it already in Rashi, when Rashi said, V'lei aved amole v'lei achaser. What did Rashi say? V'lei aved amole v'lei achaser. That if Rosh Chodesh Chassid would be Erev Shabbos, and you don't do a torch, you know that it's chaser. You could say there's no torch. Why? Because of shikris. He says you're not going to be toilet in shikris. You're going to be toilet b'midah d'shchich in something that's common. Because whenever it's chaser, you don't do it. So therefore, whenever it's chaser, you don't do it. So when you don't see a torch Mitzvah Shabbos, you're not going to say because they're shikr. You're going to say a much more common reason. Half of the months you don't do it. So they didn't do it. Mitzvah Shabbos also. Why? Because Rosh Chodesh was a chaser. That's if you do it mole. So Tosfos is making here this logical distinction. When are you going to be toilet in Einus? Only in a situation when they do it every single month, Mole and Chaser. Right? Only once in a Yovel they don't do it. When? When Rosh Chodesh is Chal be'erev Shabbos, then you don't do it. But remember, that's not a common thing. So when you don't see it Mitzvah Shabbos, yeah, you could say two reasons. Either you could say Rosh Chodesh was Chal be'erev Shabbos, which is uncommon, or you could say shikris, which is also uncommon. So we're going to get into a debate. You'll say Rosh Chodesh Erev Shabbos. I'm saying no, it's shikris. Both are uncommon. But if you can attribute it to the common reason constantly, you don't do it on Mole, or you can attribute it dafka to shikris. No, what do? Statistically, you go according to the statistics. So therefore, the mistake is less likely. That's what Tosfos explains. Mishum bittul malacha la'am shnei yamim. What's the bittul malacha? Pinish v'kuntres. Rashi says, Ein lecha Rosh Hashanah she'ein mizbatlim b'nei goyim and malacha beis yamim bein amoli bein achas. There will never be a Rosh Hashanah that people are not forced to take off work 2 days. No difference if it's 29 days. Not only Chutz La'aretz, everywhere. Everywhere outside of where Bezdin's news comes. Why?
Because even basically...
unless you could send a messenger on Rosh Hashanah itself. You're right. On day 30 itself. So you can't leave Tchum Shabbos, Tchum Yom Tov. Yeah. But anywhere a little further than Yerushalayim, where you don't get the message that day, you're going to have to take off work 2 days. Why? Day 30 is Rosh Hashanah, perhaps, right? Day 30 at night, they're still not lighting torches, so you're not going to know. You're just going to find out 31 at night. So therefore, everybody's going to have to take off work 2 days. That's what Rashi says.
If Rosh Hashanah is day 29.
Rosh Hashanah can't be day 29.
No,
Rosh Hashanah can be day 30 or day 31.
Yeah, it's Rosh Hashanah, exactly. If it's day 30, then 30 at night, they're going to light the torch.
You're right. So if it's that situation, they'll light the torches that night.
Then it's only one day.
No. We're suggesting, the Gemarah is suggesting here to do only Mali, not Chasser. So they wouldn't light 30 at night. That's the suggestion here. To do it only on Mali, not on Chasser. So day 30 at night, they never light. They only light 31 at night. So whenever you see torches, you know Rosh Chodesh was delayed. If you don't see torches, you know Rosh Chodesh wasn't delayed. The opposite of what we do L'Poyel. So 30 they would not do. So therefore, 30 at night, everybody would still be taking off Malacha. Al Hasafik, was today Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Hashanah, or today wasn't. If I see tomorrow night a torch, I know that Rosh Hashanah was taka delayed. If I don't see a torch tomorrow night, I knew that I took off Malacha for no reason, because I didn't know. But why should we do Bittul Malacha Beis Yomim when you can avoid it and let people notify a night earlier? What's the big deal? Very logical idea. That's what the Gemarah says. Bittul Malacha L'am Shnei Yom. So that's what Rashi said. Ein L'cha Rosh Hashanah Shemes Batam Negaylim Malacha Beis Yomim Bein HaMolei Bein HaChaser. Avol Ki Avdi HaChaser. They're going to light the torches for a Chaser for a month of 29 days. Yadi Shebiyom Shloishim Nikva. Everybody will know that Rosh Hashanah was established when? On day 30. And V'yasum Malacha L'machar. Tomorrow, day 31, which is Beis Tishrei, everybody could go do work. Zok Tosfos Ulechinam Dochak Lefarish. Rashi in vain was pushing himself, was stressed, was dochak. To say that we're talking about Rosh Hashanah. The Gemarah just says, the lashon of the Gemarah is, Amar Abayim Mishum Bittul Malacha L'am Shnei Yamim. So Rashi right away says, Ein L'cha Rosh Hashanah Shemes Batal B'nagel. In other words, there was only for 1 month out of the year. Every other month, Rashi doesn't have a problem. Let's say you'll think Rosh Chodesh is day 31, so what's going to be? So Rosh Chodesh is day 31. Rosh Hashanah, there's an Isser Malacha. Rosh Hashanah is Yom Tov, Mikra Kodesh, you're not allowed to do Malacha. But what do I care? Cheshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shvat, all the other months. So I think that Rosh Chodesh is a day later. Fine. So Rosh Chodesh is a day later. So Tosfos, there was no need for Rashi to say this. Why? That Kol Rosh Chodesh Kai. This Gemarah could make sense for every single month, which of course would make it much geschmacker, that the reason is relevant for every month. Why? Because even though in HaTorah, Rosh Chodesh is not Mikra Kodesh, but the fact is, it's taka not an Isser, but it was not common for Jews to do labor on Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, he's going to say. Right. Yeah. Haman said, Yeshnoi am echad, Yoshnu am echad. They always have excuses to take off work. Shabbos hayom, Pesach hayom, Chodesh hayom. They always have another holiday, always something going on. They don't believe in work. Yeah. So you're right. So therefore, every Rosh Chodesh you have the same svara. That if you're going to do the torches, day 31 at night, you're going to cause the people a poyel mamish to take off work a second day, and there's no need for it. Bittul malacha is not something that the halacha embraces. Bittul malacha is not something that we cherish. And Tosfos proves this. Like we learn in the Pedic and Masechta Megillah, the Pedic that starts off HaKodesh HaMegillah. So the Mishnah, the Chazal say over there that every day, v'she'ein by bittul malacha la'am, the Gemarah says every day, where if you don't work that day, you're not causing bittul malacha. And the Gemarah brings 2 examples: Rosh Chodesh and Chulei Shalmayit Kairin Arba. Usually, Kriyas HaTorah Monday and Thursday is only 3 aliyahs, which is the minimum to have Kriyas HaTorah. The Gemarah says, however, in a day when you're reading Torah and there's not going to be bittul malacha, you're not causing people to take off work, like Rosh Chodesh and Chol HaMoed, where they're anyway not doing malacha, you do 4 aliyahs, Kairin Arba. We don't mind to extend the duration time of Kriyas HaTorah. So what do we see from here? That there's no chashash of bittul malacha. Why is it no chashash of bittul malacha? The chashash is because it's Rosh Chodesh, they're anyway not working.
Today you're not allowed to work.
No, it's not that you're not allowed to work. It's talking about generally that the women, Rosh Chodesh is,
Einam Regilin.
Einam Regilin. It's not like Rosh Hashanah, of course. Rashi learns it's Mitzat Isur. Tosfos says, once Einam Regilin, you don't need the word of Isur. The fact is, people are not going to work. That's the fact.
It says in the halacha Ein Regilin?
No, Regilin doesn't mean halacha. If it would be halacha, it would be Asurim. Regilin means that's the custom. That's what Frickman says. That's it. No, today most people go to work on Rosh Chodesh. There's people don't go to work even after Rosh Chodesh. There's people that have a suffix every day might be Rosh Chodesh, so they stay away from it. They say there was one of the yeshiva bacher, he didn't learn a whole winter. So they asked him why. They said, but again, nittel, there's different sveikas. One nittel is the old calendar, the new calendar. So he just a whole winter, he doesn't want to misafik. There's another he didn't put on tefillin. They asked him why. He says he doesn't get into politics. Rashi Rabbi Tams, he doesn't get involved in machloikas. There's so many machloikas, and so he just stays away from all machloikas. Okay. Urigilin loymar. Now Tosfos explains vasepes. Vasepes, there's no isur. It says Urigilin loymar. It's ruggle, it's customary to say that this minig is actually for women, not for men. Shahoisif hamokim yomtuf l'noshim b'Rosh Chodesh. The Rebbeinu Shalom hamokim is Hashem. Hashem added a yomtuf for women on Rosh Chodesh, that they should have a minig and treat it like a yomtuf. Why? This was a special reward that they did not acquiesce, they did not surrender to do the golden calf. When they came to Aaron and they said, "Asay lanu Elokim, we don't know what happened to Moshe," so Aaron responded in Parshas Kisisa, "Pirku nizmei azav asher ba'aznin in sheichem." Aaron told all the men who came to him, "Go, your women have a lot of jewelry. Why don't you remove the jewelry and give it to me?" But what does the pasuk say? "Vayisparku kol ha'am es nizmei azav asher ba'azneihem." He told them, "Go to your wives. They have plenty of jewelry." L'poil, they only gave them. They gave him their jewelry. Why? Because they came to their wives, and their wives said, "Get out. We're not giving anything." The women refused to give their nosebands. Nizamim are nosebands, which was a very common jewelry at the time. And from that was created the Egel Azav as a schar for the women's commitment and loyalty and sobriety. They were given a special yomtov, which is Rosh Chodesh. So Tosfos is explaining where this minute came from not to work on Rosh Chodesh, because it became a woman's yomtov. I guess many men said, "My wife is not working, I should work." But that Tosfos doesn't say. Al Kol Panim, this is the source.
Levium also didn't contribute, did they?
No.
So they also have the...
For them, it was every day's yomtov. Levium and the Kayan and Bechlal, their whole avodah was different. What? Yeah. That's the sources of Pikad Rebbe Lezer. Pikad Rebbe Lezer, it says that Rosh Chodesh is a minig for. They don't do malacha. Like Cholamayid. Like Cholamayid. They treat it like Cholamayid.
Will she work twice as hard?
I
tell her I do what she wants me to do. I do her not working for her. I help her out that day.
It's brought in Sfarim. What's the shaykhis? What's the connection? Because the women didn't do the egel, so therefore they were given a schar Rosh Chodesh. Like, what's the connection? The egel didn't happen on Rosh Chodesh. The egel happened Tez Zayin Tammuz. They came to Aaron, right? He made the egel to Zayin Tammuz. Yud Zayin Tammuz, they started to worship it.
Because of the egel. Maybe they didn't give it because the same way if you go to your wife today and you say, "Listen, I gotta pay membership to the shul. Can I have your earrings?" And she looked at you and that was the reason. We didn't say that was the reason.
Rashi says that they didn't even want.
Right?
They had money, wasn't it?
They wanted to dissolve.
Rashi says that they didn't
That's
even
what
go
they
as their
wanted.
wives.
The women didn't give. They did not donate to the egel. When it came, no, because I'll tell you why. Because you contrast it to the Mishkan. By the Mishkan it says, "Vayavoyu anoshim al hanoshim." The women ran first to give.
Right. For the kier also they gave.
For the Mishkan they gave. The kier they brought the mirrors.
Right.
So and here it was dafka, and he said, "Go to the women." But Lepoil they couldn't bring from the women. So Chazal say,
That was his
Aaron was trying
cheshbon.
to push things off. He knew to say go to the women.
go to the women. He
That
thought
was
there'll,
Aaron's cheshbon.
there'll be an issue. Yeah.
Aaron understood.
Yeah.
He worked with the families. He did family counseling.
Yeah. So the question is, why is Shchaydish the schar? So one of the reasons that's given is because the Chet HaEgel came from a mistake. The mistake was in Egypt, the Egyptian philosophy was that the Mazalas run the world, which was one of the ideas of idolatry, that even if God exists, He delegates everything to the galaxies and stars. And Chodesh Nisan is Mazel Tle, the heavenly constellation where the sun, where you see the sun, the background behind the sun, as we learned, is the group of stars that look like a sheep. Iyar is the month of Shor, which is a bull, right? It's called, what's the month of Nisan? Aries and Taurus, right? The second is Taurus, which is a bull. And then Sivan is Gemini, Tu'umim. So the Erev Rav, who were Egyptians, and then they came out, Yitzias Mitzrayim, they explained to the Jews that what happened was, there was a fight between Tle and Shor, between the sheep and the bull. And basically, what happened was that as a result of that, the Jews left Mitzrayim because the Avodah Zarah of the Egyptians was Tle. The Avodah Zarah of the Egyptians was a sheep. That's why it was hard for them to be makruv the Korban Pesach from a sheep, because this was their Avodah Zarah. So basically what happened was the Shor won over the Tle, so Egypt was defeated, and that's why the Jews got out. So now if you want to find favor in the eyes of the gods, you got to stick to the bull. The bull is having a good days now, so therefore they're going to create the Egel. So this was the concept that Hashem is distant, and basically the world runs through these various stars, these various deities and all their powers. So that was the union of Chet HaEgel, to give tribute to the deity of Shor. The calf, of course, is a baby bull, a baby cow. That was the Vart. Essentially, what's the machlokes here? Machlokes has to do with the sun and the moon. The difference between the sun and the moon is, the sun is very powerful, the sun is very stable, but the sun is very far removed. There's no havam in it that anybody's going to the sun. The sun is extremely aloof, the sun is extremely remote. The moon, on the other hand, is physically much smaller, even smaller than the earth, and much closer to the earth. So the Chumas Ha'olam, the nations of the world, their calendars are based on the sun. The Jewish people, their calendar is based on the moon. It's not stam a difference. It's also a difference in how we view the relationship with time. For them, the expression is Azav Hashem Esa'aretz. God abandoned the earth. He may be the sun, He may be the source, but it's far away. It's very, very powerful. It's too big to deal with the details of the world. The moon, on the other hand, the moon changes, the moon fluctuates. The moon is, so to speak, closer to the earth geographically and also emotionally. This represents that Hashem is not only aloof and transcendent, but also immanent, also involved in the world. Women are bichlal compared to the moon, not to the sun. In terms of biology, it's brought in Svarim that the system of the moon is reflected in the feminine system as well. Waxing and waning, 2 weeks, and the whole system of the biological system of a woman reflects this orbit of the moon, which is a sugya b'fnei atzma, but that's brought in Svarim. So therefore, they're bichlal closer to the moon. Their conception also, therefore, of Hashem was much closer, intimate. So therefore, they refused and rejected the Chet HaEgel, because this whole philosophy they rejected. The schar that was given to them was the schar of Rosh Chodesh, which is the celebration of a new moon, which they are Daimon L'Levana. Just like the Luach of the Jewish people is Daimon L'Levana, which wanes and waxes. It goes through the different changes that human beings go through and bodies go through, which represents that Hashem is not only this unmovable being that is beyond and remains beyond and sepastamnisht. Doesn't work for him to deal with the small stuff of the world. What is he going to deal with? Yitzias Mitzrayim, not Yitzias Mitzrayim, but rather there is a closeness, there is an intimacy. Not only is he big, he's also small. Not only Ramal Kol Goyim Hashem, but also small. It's one of the explanations I saw once about the connection between Rosh Chodesh and they're not doing the Chet HaEgel. I'll call upon him. So Tosfos argues with Rashi, there's no need to attribute it to Rosh Hashanah. This works for every single month. They didn't want Rosh Chodesh to be delayed al hasafik, because people take off work and there's no need for it. It's bittul malach, it's inconvenient and other problems, and therefore they light the torches not 31 at night, but 30 at night. Weiter. Zog the Gemarah. Keitzad hayu mesiyin masuis. How did they do this? How did they light the torches? So what did the Mishnah say? Meviyin klun soyes shel eres. They would bring long poles of cedar trees. They would take branches of cedar trees and bring long poles. And they were lit. They were kindled on the top. They would tie around it, as we learned, reeds and balsam wood and flax, in order to make it even a stronger and larger flame. And they would light these poles. The edge of these poles would be lit, and this is how everybody knew that Rosh Chodesh happened. So now the Gemarah goes into an interesting sugya about various cedar trees. We have kolon soyes shel eres, which means poles of a cedar. So the Gemarah, Amar Rabbi Yehuda said, Arba minei arazim hein. Arba minei arazim hein. There are 4 kinds of eres. Generally, we translate eres as a cedar. He says, when we say the word eres, however, it includes 4 types of trees. One we call eres, one we call kasroim, one we call eitz shemen, and one we call berosh. So in other words, eres is not only the name of one specific tree, the cedar tree, but it's also a general term, like a generic term, that can refer to different types of trees. L'mashal, it's time to give a mashal in Mishnayos. We have a Masechta called Taharos. Kalim, Olus, Nagoy. There's a Masechta called Taharos. But there's also a whole Seder called Taharos. So when you say Taharos, Taharos includes Masechta Kalim and Olus and Nagoyim and Para, Machshirin, etc. But Taharos is also a specific tractate among it. You have Koichav L'mashal, right? One of the Shiva Koichav Leches is called Koichav. And yet, Koichav is every star. So here too, you have eres as a particular tree, and you have eres as a generic word for various trees: eres, kasroim, eitz shemen, and brush. What's kasroim? Amar Rav. So Rav says the other 3 types will be identified shortly, but we're now discussing the second one. Kasroim. Amar Rav adra. It is a tree that's known as an adra tree. The Beit Shiloi Amri. In the yeshiva of Reb Shiloi, they call it mavliga. The kasrem is not the adra, it's the mavliga tree. Amrila, and some say zugulmash. It's the gulmash tree. So 3 different opinions what the kasrem tree is. Whether it is adra, or it's mavliga, or it is gulmash. 3 interpretations of the tree. Zog the Gemarah weiter, uplige der Rabbi Rav Huna. Rabbi Yehuda's statement that there are 4 kinds of eres, but only 4, argues with Rabbi Rav Huna. Rabbi Rav Huna, Amri Bei Rav, in the name of the yeshiva of Rav, Asara Minei Arazim Heim. There are 10 types of eres, not 4, but 10. Shenemar, and he quotes a pasuk from Yeshaya, and we have here the whole pasuk. Yeshaya Hanavi prophesies about the future, and he says, Etein Bamidbar, I will set in the wilderness, I will place in the wilderness, which is a novelty that you'll have this in the midbar. Erez, Shita, Hados, Eitz Shemen, Osim Ba'arava, I will place in the desert, Beroish, Tidhar, Usa'ashur, Yachdov, all together. So I will place in the wilderness, Erez, 1, Shita 2, Hados 3, Eitz Shemen 4, and in the Arava, in the wilderness, I'll have Broish, which is 5, Tidar is 6, Usa'ashur is 7. And the Gemarah goes through what this means. Erez, Arza. Erez is a cedar. Shita, Turnissa. Shita is the pine tree. That's Shita. Hadas is Asa, the myrtle branch, which we're familiar from Sukkos. So we all know, we know the cedar, we have the pine, and we have the myrtle. Eitz Shemen, Afrasma, the balsam tree. That's Eitz Shemen. Next, Beroish is Barasa, boxwood. Tidar is Shaga, which is
the fir tree.
The fir tree. Ta'ashur is Shurivna. Shurivna, we don't know. The Rashbam says in Baba Basra that we don't know what the Shurivna is. The other ones Rashi says, let's see Rashi. Amar Rav Idra Kach Shema Ilan Kedamrinim Masechta Beitza. The Gemarah famously says in Masechta Beitza that what? If somebody wants Haroitza Sheniskaimun Nechasav Yita Bahen Adar. Somebody who wants that his real estate should remain, he should plant the other tree, Idra. Turnisa, Zakrashi, Pinaya, that's the pine, that's Shita, right? Hadas, we said is Asa, H. Shemen is the balsam, next is Broish is Brasa, Zakrashi, Busu Balaz, boxwood, Tidar is Shaga, is Shaf Balaz, which is translated here as fir. Zag the Gemarah Hani Shiva Hava, you just said 10, but these are only 7.
No, what are you saying? These are part of the Eres family.
Yeah, when you say Eres, it includes
So
10 types.
What did Yaakov make sure they took?
Shittim.
To the midbar.
I'd say Shittim. Shita here is pine. Here Shita is pine. Rashi says Pinaya, Turnissa.
So when they asked the Sheva, how did they get it in the midbar? How did they get
No, this is a Navu on La'asid. In other words, it's a Chiddush that there's going to be, you're going to have this in the desert. It's not a, yeah, that's why he says, Me'ayin hoyalem b'midbar. How did they have the wood in the midbar? Because this looks like it's a Chiddush. Yeah. In other words, the Navi is describing various wondrous things that are going to happen in the future when Mashiach comes. So one of them is that these types of trees are going to grow in the midbar in the wilderness. So the Gemarah says, I don't understand. And they're going to be together. The fact that they're together means it's not a coincidence. Altogether means it's a wondrous phenomenon. So Rabbi Bar Rav Huna says these are all included in the word Erez. The word Erez includes all these. Fact the Gemarah, it's not 10, it's 7. We just had 7. Hani Shiva Have, we only have 7. So the Gemarah, Ki Asir Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi arrived to Babylonia, Amar, he said, Hoisifu Aleim, the sages added another 3 trees to the 7 listed, and that made a group of 10. And that is Aloinim, Almoinim, and Almugin. And the Gemarah explains, Aloinim is Butmi. Butmi are elms. Those are Aloinim, Butmi, elms. Rashi says, Butmi, Ulmei Balaz. We call it in English, we call it elms. Next, Almoinim, Balute. What's Balute? Rashi says, Tsirva Kabbalaz, we call it oak. Shegdelin boy Peter Shekroin and Glianda, Bluti is oaks. The third is Almugin Kasisa, which is coral. Rashi says, Kasisa, Min Eitza Oila Bekarka Hayam. Coral botanically is not mamish a tree, but it looks like a tree. And it comes up from the earth of the sea, Ushmoy Kuralo. That's what it's called in English. I believe it's called coral, Coral. Let me give you a description of this because it's going to be very relevant now. From the Art Scroll Gemarah, he says as follows. This is a tree-like structure that grows from the floor of the sea, as Rashi says. Coral is essentially a limestone formation. It's produced by the action of colonies of tiny marine creatures, tiny sea creatures, which take calcium from the surrounding sea, deposit it around their bodies. One type of this is called precious coral or red coral. It grows in a tree-like formation. It's found in the Mediterranean Sea. This precious coral is often polished and carved into beads and other jewelry and ornaments. Technically, then, coral is not a tree in the botanical sense, but it's called a tree because of its tree-like shape. If you check up images of coral, you'll see it's really beautiful. It's really a beautiful formation. It looks like a tree. So basically what happens is, it's like a limestone formation. That's where a lot of limestone they take. And it's produced by, you have tiny marine creatures in the sea. They produce it basically. They have these colonies. They take calcium from the surrounding sea, and around their bodies, they put up these formations. So when you look at it, it looks like a tree. It's not technically, botanically a tree. It comes from Karkayasayam, but it has the formation. It has the formation of a tree, and some of it is very expensive. We'll soon see. Extremely precious. It's called precious coral or red coral, and it's like it's an ornament. It's a jewelry that's used for beads and ornaments, as the Gemarah is going to explain. So this is the third, Almugin. So this completes our list of 10. So we added the elms, we added the oaks, and we added the coral, the Almugin.
Are those all these trees are connected to the Arazim?
Why are they all part of the Arazim?
Mm-hmm. The Erez is a strong tree, huge.
What's the connection to Erez?
Yeah.
They're in this family.
How do you know this is family? This one is the sea.
The first one's going to be in the midbar. It's going to have it belongs to the Mediterranean Sea. You're going to go in the midbar. You're going to see this right next to an oak tree. You're going to see coral tree.
So it's the same family.
Erez.
I mean, generally, the Maharal says here that they bring the Mefarshim bring that the Erez is considered Coral. Coral.
That's not what he means.
What?
There's a coral tree, he said.
No. This is in the sea. Karkayam, yeah. It looks like a tree.
No, but there is something called a coral tree.
Okay, something else, yeah.
With red leaves.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the Erez is considered a very prominent tree. You have it, in fact, in Chumash very often, right? Mm-hmm. You have Para Aduma, you have the Eitz Erez, V'hishlicha Tachsreifas HaPara, Tzadik HaTama Yifrach, Ke'erez Balvon and Yizga. The Erez is considered a very prominent tree. So the Gemarah, the Maharal says here, that the Gemarah finds it important to explain what the Erez is, and the name Erez, what it includes. Zog the Gemarah weiter. So Rav Dimi added these three. Ikadamri, others say, the last three are not Aloinim, Almoinim, and Almugin, which basically are elms, oaks, and coral, but rather Aroinim, Armoinim, and Almugin. Aroinim, Armoinim, and Almugin. So, that's a little different. The last one remains the same. But the first two, from Aloinim and Almoinim, it became Aroinim and Armoinim. Okay? So the Gemarah, what's Aroinim? Aroinim is Ore. Ore are? Aroinim are Ore are laurels. Rashi says, Luriyu Shema Ilan Vespiria Kairin Beish. Laurels. Armoinim, what's Armoinim? Dulve. Chestnuts. Rashi says, Armoinim Dulve, Kashtanaya. Kashtanaya are chestnuts. And Almugin, we already said, is Kasisa, coral. Now let's remember that Armoinim actually have a very significant concept in Chumash, because Yaakov Avinu, when he deals with the sticks, with Lavan's sheep, so it says Yaakov took Makal Livna, Lach Veluz Armoin. Armoin, right? So the Targum says, the Armoin is, as the Gemarah says here, Dadluv, which we call chestnuts. Okay. Zog the Gemarah, let's see how they used to obtain this coral from the sea. This coral that we just described as Almugin, which was very, very precious and very expensive because of its beauty and its rarity, how would they extract it from the sea? It was not easy. It was deep in the sea. How would they get it? So the Gemarah brings it through a very interesting pasuk. The pasuk says,
what is it called? What? What is he saying over here?
You want to know L'maynaf Kamin if it's called Erez or not?
You cannot say that you can take.
It's been, the first thing is Mekach Memka when it comes to sale. In other words, if I say I'm selling you Erez, but we don't specify the species, according to Rabbi Yehuda, you can only give from these four that he counts. Which is Erez, Katroim, Eitz Shemen, and Broish. That's according to Rabbi Yehuda.
Somebody makes an adov in shul that I'm giving the klun sois for the high sois. I'm donating all the klun sois.
For Erez, right. And according to Rabbi Rav Huna, you could give the 10 minim that he enumerates, the 7 of Yeshaya, plus the last 3. But again, the last 3, there was a machlokes. Yeshaya Hanavi gives a nevuah. And the nevuah is that from the Beis HaMikdash, when Mashiach comes, a stream is going to flow from the Beis HaMikdash. So he says, V'tzi adir lo yavrenu. Even a tzi adir will not be able to pass it. Meaning, tzi adir is a mighty ship. Tzi is a ship, and adir is mighty, strong. Even a mighty ship will not be able to cross this river that's going to issue forth from the Beis HaMikdash, which Yeshaya Hanavi prophesies in Perek Lamed Gimel. So he says, V'tzi adir lo yavrenu. There's going to be a river, but even a mighty ship will not be able to cross this river. That's how powerful it's going to be. So therefore, we're going to describe what's this ship. Amarav Zubur Nigdoila. This mighty ship is a ship that we used to call, in his day, a large burni ship. Right? This was the Titanic of the day. Burni Gdoila, a big large burni ship. That's Tzi Adir. In the Targum he says burni rapsid. Tzi is burni.
It won't be able to pass because it's too big.
No, the current. The waters are going to flow so forcefully, so powerfully, that even a mighty ship will not be able to traverse these waters. What was the purpose of this burni ship? What was it used for? Hey, what was it done? Rashi says, meaning what was it made for? It wasn't Stam a ship that was made to travel, because then there were other big ships. It was made for a specific purpose, and this is how it comes into this Gemarah, where we're talking about the coral. And he explains as follows. Maisi shit alfe gavre betresa yarchishat. They would bring 6,000 men and employ them for 12 months. Or Amila, others say, Tresa alfe gavre b'shita yarchishat, or 12,000 men and employ them for 6 months. Either it was 6,000 people for 12 months, or the other way, 12,000 men for 6 months. V'tani lechala, and these thousands of men would load this ship, which we call burni gdoila. They would load this ship with sand. Chala is sand. Ad shachna, until it would settle on the seabed. So they had to have an enormous amount of manpower. It wasn't necessary stam. This ship had to go out deep into the corals, where the corals were coming out of the sea. That's where they would put the ship. And they had to bring the sand with little boats all the way from the port deep into the sea, where the coral formations were growing out of, as Rashi said, karka hayam, the sea, the bottom of the sea. And they had to bring with little boats all these sand, and they would fill the ship with sand. So it was the whole process of ferrying the sand to the port and from the port where the ship was situated, basically in the coral field, deep in the sea, and they had to load the sand, and soon we're going to see unload the sand, and therefore they had to have all these people. V'nachis bar amirai. So basically, putting the sand on this ship, it would settle on the seabed. The ship would go down on the seabed. V'nachis bar amirai. A diver, bar amirai is a diver, would go down. The kotar, he would tie atune de kitana bekasisa. He would tie ropes of flax to the roots of the corral. He would go down to the roots of the corral and tie coral, okay, and tie ropes of flax. Why ropes of flax? Rashi says, Chala is chayil, sand, ad shachna, shuleha, the bottom of the ship, shoichnim bekarkayis hayam, would go down to the bottom of the sea, v'oidena niris l'mayla min hamayim, but the ship would not sink, because you could still see it. It would protrude. Why? The mamakim shal mogim gdelim bayam ein hayam amuk kol kach. Where this coral grows, it was not so deep, so therefore the sea would not be submerged. It would still protrude. Bara meiroi melumed loshet banahare. Somebody who knows how to swim, he's a diver. V'kater atuni de kisna chavile pishtan. He would take ropes of flax, pishtan. Why? Shehein koshin linotek. Because they're very tight, they're very strong. It's hard to detach them. One part of the rope he would tie to the root of this coral tree, and the other side he would tie to the ship. Now what would happen? He would tie the other ends of the ropes to the ship, one end to the roots of the coral, and one end to the ship. V'natli chala, now they would take the sand, v'shadu libroi, and they would cast it overboard. They would throw it out, libroi, outside. What would happen now? V'kama de medalya akro masya. As the ship is rising, basically as the sand is removed, the swiftness, the buoyancy of the ship increases. So now what happens? V'kama de medalya akro masya. As the ship, the buoyancy of the ship, the speed of the ship is increasing because they're removing the sand, so it rises. As the ship rises, it would uproot the coral from the seabed, and it would bring it, Masya would bring it to the surface. Omachlif al-chad trein bekaspa. The coral is so valuable, it would be exchanged. 1 measure of coral would be exchanged for 2 measures of silver. That's how expensive and precious it was. Plus Parvasa Havyan. There were 3 ports. Tartibei Aramai. 2 were considered Aramai territory, and Chada de Bei Parsai, and 1 was considered Persian territory. The Bei Aramai, from those in the Aramai territory, Mask and Kasisa, they would bring up coral. The Bei Parsai, those in the Persian territory, Mask and Marganiyasa, they would bring up pearls. Or Mekarva Parvayasa de Mashmehig, and it was called the port of the kingdom. Rashi, V'shakli, Hamech Gavri Chalod Esfinaz, they would take the sand, V'shadol Avroi, they would cast it overboard. V'hi Oila Mitay Chamayim, as they threw away the sand, the ship was now rising from the water, and in the process, remember, there was a rope that was tied both to the formations of the coral and the ship. It would uproot the roots in the sea, and they would bring it to the port. It was so expensive that, as he says, basically, it was so valuable, it was exchanged. 1 measure was exchanged for 2 measures of silver.
Just for the work, you need 6,000 people to get how much for the job.
And they had to pay their salaries and make some profit also.
Why couldn't they get the Baramerua to get down and cut it down?
Coral is very, very hard. It's very hard.
It's like limestone. You have formations of limestone. What is he supposed to do?
The ship could pull it out.
That's what the ship did.
It was a huge ship.
It was a huge ship, so the ship would be able to uproot it and uplift it, and they would bring it to the port.
No weight in the water.
Huge, because it would go deep.
All at once. Slap it up. All at once.
Anything
that could push weight, it's dead weight. How would that uproot?
That's why they put the sand, and then they removed the sand, and the ship went. Huh?
Yeah, but how would they uproot?
Listen, a ship naturally
Dead weight.
It floats in the water. It's not dead weight. It has a buoyancy.
Dead weight is dead weight.
So when something is buoyant and you're forcing it down with the sand, now you take the sand off. Naturally, it rises with force, with momentum. You're with koyach, with ferociousness.
I think it's rooted too much anyway. It's not rooted.
No.
Yeah, it's very heavy.
It's just growing.
It's formed in the seabed. It's formations in the seabed.
It's rooted in that you have to.
Like a tree.
No, it's not a tree. We call it a tree. It's not a tree. It's stone. When you have stone on the ground, it's not deeply rooted, but it's very heavy. Huh? Yeah, remember, this is before the Industrial Revolution.
How did they go down that?
How'd they figure this out? They had scuba divers.
I've been down on coral.
You can go with just a breath.
Without.
You have been to coral?
Yeah, with tanks and without tanks. Even without tanks, just with a snorkel, you can go down and swim around coral, for sure. It's not that deep.
It's not that deep.
It's very nice, huh? It's beautiful, yeah?
And the fish, Hashem sends thousands of fish swimming around in it.
It's beautiful.
I saw videos of it.
See the colors. It's
like a different
You
world.
swim in the middle of it though?
Another world.
So what is the coral
It looks
itself?
like a tree.
It looks like a tree.
You were in the Mediterranean? You were in the Mediterranean?
Where did you do this?
This was
Florida Keys.
I did it off the Florida Keys, but also off.
But this was in the Red Sea or in the Persian Gulf.
Well, he's probably talking about the Mediterranean.
I'm talking about Persian territory in Aramaic.
Caribbean's not the Mediterranean.
Red Sea.
Tell me you went off Greece.
You want to be my buddy?
And what do you do with this
I went
coral?
off Greece also.
That's true.
Off the island of
That's what they
Chios.
used to.
But there's no coral.
It's
I didn't see any coral.
such an expensive thing they burn.
So this is called Erez, that's what he's saying.
So they burned
No.
6,000.
No, this is not mamash a tree. He's just saying this in the word Erez, this is included. Not that they used this for
the fire.
He's not saying they used this for the fire. First of all, it's stone.
Stone?
It is, yes.
Limestone, I think, right?
Limestone.
Limestone, huh?
But it's fragile
why
also.
They have this Gemarah altogether. They just describe the poles for the torches. It has two qualities, very tall and burns well. Why all this extra? I don't understand.
Why the
They
whole
would
story
have
with
picked the trees that are the tallest and they want to burn the berries. You think it would be a fir tree or something.
The fragst al pinigla, al pinister. Al pinigla, it's a discussion what Eres is.
What should be enough?
Everything the Gemarah said has a cheshbon.
Kol ma shesh bayam yesh bayabasha, yeah? Okay, so let's just finish it. So divers would extract pearls from the seabed of the port. That is what in the Persian territory they did, and it was called the port of the kingdom. And the Gemarah finishes here, Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, or Parvis Rashi says, Porto Balaz, which we call a port. French is Porto. Balashon Mishnah, it's called Namal, which is still called a port. Maskin Margini Yasam, Bikarkoyas Hayam, Aidei Baramayroy. Again, they would send a diver to bring up pearls, because there were 3 different ports, and the Persians would bring up pearls. Or Mikriya Parvasa de Mashmehik. So it was called the port of the kingdom. Oysa shal Parsim Nikras Namal Shamalucha. A port of the kingdom because they would bring up pearls which were royal, aristocratic.
Port is also comes from Moshe Kodesh from Pritza, from an opening.
Port.
They bring up oysters.
Pritza.
Yeah.
Oysters,
They would bring up oysters, they wouldn't bring up pearls. They're not pearls lying in the karka.
Right.
The pearls are basically...
Well, that itself is uniquely expensive. Oyster. Which is also incredibly how it forms pearls because of its irritation. Basically, it's the irritation, right, that produces the pearls.
Grain of sand.
Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, Kol shita v'shita shenatlu nochem Yerushalayim. Every pine tree that the conquering Gentiles took from Yerushalayim, Asita Kadosh Baruch Hu lachziron la. Hashem is going to restore to her in the future. Restore to Yerushalayim in the future. Nemar, the pasuk says in Yeshaya, as we just quoted, Etein ba'midbar erez shita. I will place in the wilderness the cedar and the pine. Taichus Rabbi Yochanan ein midbar ela Yerushalayim. Literally, we translate midbar stam as a desert, but he's explaining midbar as Yerushalayim. Shenemar, the pasuk says in Yeshaya, Tzion midbar hoysu Yerushalayim shmama. Basically, Tzion has become a midbar, Yerushalayim has become desolate. So Yerushalayim is called a midbar. So this midbar, every pine tree that they took from Yerushalayim is going to come back. Rabbi Yochanan said, anybody who learns Torah but doesn't teach it, he's like a hadas in the wilderness. The hadas is a very fragrant tree, but in the desert it goes unappreciated. Nobody could gain from it. So somebody is learning Torah but he doesn't impart Torah to others. It's a wonderful hadas, but nobody gets anything from it. Ikadamri, others say, Rabbi Yochanan said a little different. Somebody who learns Torah, and he teaches it in a place where there are no other Talmidei Chachamim, in a positive sense. He becomes like a hadas in the midbar because he's so unique, it's so precious, it's so rare, that therefore it's unique. Everyone so appreciates it because there's no other Talmidei Chachamim. Rabbi Yochanan said the third thing, woe unto the Gentiles, she'ein lehem takana, there's no remedy for them. In other words, what do you mean there's no remedy? What they destroyed, they will forever know is irreplaceable. Shenemar, the pasuk says, again, Yeshaya Hanavi says, Tachas hanachayishis avi zahav. Instead of copper, I'm going to bring gold. Tachas habarzel avi kesef. In place of iron, I will bring silver. Tachas ha'etzim, nechayishis. In place of wood, I'll bring copper. Tachas ha'avonim. In place of stones, barzel, I will bring iron. So basically, Yeshaya Hanavi is prophesizing that Hashem is going to inspire the nations of the world to basically make many restitutions, to give much to Eretz Yisrael, to the Jews, for everything they stole from Eretz Yisrael in the years of Golus. That's how the Rabdak explains. So for all of these things they took, they're going to replace it and replace it with more. However, Rabbi Yochanan says, Tachas Rabbi Akiva v'chaveir of my meviin. But in place of Rabbi Akiva and his colleagues who they murdered, what are they going to possibly bring instead of them? On them it says, V'nikesi damam lo nikesi. I will cleanse the nations of their other sins, but from the blood, V'nikesi, I will cleanse them. But damam, for the blood that they shed, lo nikesi, this I will not cleanse. And Rabbi Akiva and his chaverim were brutally murdered by the Romans for the crime of studying and teaching Torah, as the Gemarah describes at the end of Brachas. Says V'nikesi, even if I'm going to clean up their sins, that I'll clean. But damam, the blood that they poured, Loi Nikesis, Rabbi Akiva says, Rabbi Yochanan says, Oilam levdik achavim. Some things there's no takana, it's just irreplaceable.
Why is it
Nikoim, but not Nikesi. Nikoim is revenge. Nikesi is clean it. Takana means sometimes you do something and you can't fix it. Sometimes you break something and you fix it. Some things you can't fix. It's irreplaceable. He says there's no remedy for what they did. You murdered Rabbi Akiva v'Chaveda.
They're already paying back debts, destroy everything.
Kesef, Zahav, Nechoshes, alles gute Sachen, but some things are irreplaceable. Rashi says, Nikesi, Damam loy Nikesi, in Basi lenakis es ha'akum mishar avoinus, lo yanake mi damam shal Yisrael. I'm going to clean up everybody from the other sins, but not from the blood that they shed of the Jewish people. Right, Chav Gimel Amar Aleph, the last line of the page. Ume'ayin hoyim asir masuas. So let's recall, the Mishnah said, the last Mishnah, Daf Chav Beis, Amud Beis, spoke about the fact that in the beginning they used to light torches in order to let everybody know when Rosh Chodesh was. So the end of the Mishnah was telling us where they lit these torches. And basically, he enumerated 5 mountains. The first one was Hara Mishcha, Hara Zeisim, the Mount of Olives. And then they saw it on a mountain called Sratva. And then they saw it on a mountain called Grufina, that's number 3. They saw it on a mountain called Chivron. And then Beis Bilton, that was the 5th. Beis Bilton, he would wait with the torch until he finally saw that the Jews in the diaspora and the Goyla, meaning in Babylonia, it looked like a bonfire. Because once it hit there, once they saw it over there, everybody lit flames, as the Gemarah is going to explain. So that was the last location, Beis Bilton. So we have 5 locations, 5 mountains within Eretz Yisrael from where they began, right near Yerushalayim, which is Har HaZeisim, and then they went off, further and further. So the Gemarah is now going to discuss this. Mishnah said, from where would they light these torches? So we have Mehara Mishcha to Sratva, Sratva Grufina, Grufina to Chivron, Chivron Beis Bilton, and then Beis Bilton, the Mishnah says, Lo Yizazu Misham, they did not move from there. He would rather wave the flames, the torch. He was Moilichel maybe, he would wave it back and forth and up and down until he saw the entire diaspora, Kimeduras Eish, it seemed to him, to the man holding the torch, up on the mountain of Beis Bilton like a bonfire. Frag the Gemarah, my Beis Bilton. What is this place called Beis Bilton? Amar Rav. So Rav said, Chav Gimel Amud Beis in the top, Zu Biram. This is the location today known as Biram. So the Sifsei Chachamim writes that the Mishnah, the Gemarah doesn't ask about the other places. Sratva, Garfina, Chivron. Now, Hara Zeisim, Hara Mishcha, we all know where that is. People go there till today. The east of Jerusalem. You go to the Harabayis, right? The east of the Harabayis, you'll see, you go east and you meet Hara Zeisim. But the Gemarah doesn't even ask on the other 3 places. Not Sratva, Grufina, and Chivra. The answer is, as Sifsei Chachamim says, because probably their names remained intact in the time of the Gemarah. There was no question, my base, any of these mountains. But Beis Bilton, apparently the name was changed. So when the Gemarah was addressing the Mishnah, they already didn't know what Beis Bilton is. So they asked, what's Beis Bilton? So Rav said, it's the location called Biram. So the Gemarah weiter, my Goyla. What do we mean by Goyla? It says that in Beis Bilton he would see Roya Kol HaGoyla, he would see the whole exile. What do you mean the whole exile? What did he? What's it mean? Yeah, the whole world. But what's the whole? Everywhere out of Eretz Yisrael. Amar Rabbi Yosef. In other words, it can't mean that he saw mamish the whole, even the whole country of Bavel, the whole Babylonian country, which would be present-day Iraq, right, and could be even parts of Iran. He saw the whole thing from Beis Bilton. I mean, that would be impossible. Amar Rabbi Yosef said, Zu Pumpedissa. It's referring to a particular city in Bavel, which is the city of Pumbedissa. In other words, Goyle can't mean he saw the whole country of Bavel, the whole Babylonia. He saw Pumbedissa. So basically, until Pumbedissa he could see. Pumbedissa today is associated, it's near the city Fallujah in Iraq. Right? Fallujah, Iraq, a lot of action there. So that is associated either with Pumbedissa or right near Pumbedissa.
Nardo was
further east. Nardo was further east. Pumbedissa is closer east, and I mean closer west. In other words, closer to Eretz Yisrael. Thank you.
Which was
Pumbedissa. Pumbedissa, yeah. And Pumbedissa was the main center, so to speak. The main Jews lived everywhere. Right. So the main center of Jews in Bavel was Pumbedissa, and it was closer to Eretz Yisrael, right? So when you're going from Eretz Yisrael, to reach Iraq, to reach present-day Iraq, you have to go east, of course, and also north. Parts of Iraq are parallel to Eretz Yisrael. If you just go east, you'll hit Iraq. But parts of it are north Eretz Yisrael.
So what happened during the Golos? They took them out of Eretz Yisrael, right? They brought them and they stopped this. The first rest area, they stopped them out of all. Or they went right there. He went.
Yeah, I'm sure they dispersed. Yeah.
I understand, but if the bulk of them now went over Medisa, how did that happen? The first armies on the first stop, okay, Medisa, 90% off. You go right to Nardo, wherever else they're going. It's a minority. It's much more that they took them. This was in this new Chanetza, right?
Yeah, where's that become too expensive?
No, that's not how they look at Medisa. It's obviously a city that's close to Eretz.
Yeah, this first time on the way out.
Yeah, Baghdad is more east.
Right.
In other words, further from Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is, of course, west from Bavel. Pumbedissa is closer. Pumbedissa is west from Baghdad, so closer to Eretz Yisrael. Also,
if I'm running the invasion,
west from the Euphrates, west from the Euphrates River as well. West from the Har Pras, and of course west from the Chidekel, which is the Tigris River.
Today, what border is that with Eretz Yisrael?
Well, you have to get through Syria.
You have to go through Syria.
Syria. So when you go east and north from Eretz Yisrael, you hit Syria. Right. And then from Syria you go to Iraq. And then Iran.
So they biblical Eretz Yisrael. Syria was there also.
Yeah, of course. Listen, the promised Avram Avinu was till the Euphrates River. Ad Hanar Hagadol Nahar Pras.
So
all the way to Iraq.
So they didn't go like Syria, they didn't go like anything. They didn't like anything. They didn't have to. They had a light.
Well, probably it was somewhere in that area over there.
They said it's from Eretz Yisrael.
Yeah, I'm saying the edge of Eretz Yisrael, to be able to see Pumbedissa. That Pumbedissa would be able to see them.
No mountains there?
Huh?
No mountains there?
No what?
The mountains. Yerushalayim, Haram, so no mountains. Block.
I guess from Beis Bilton there was a view to Pumbedissa.
Does it have it on the map?
Do we know where
Beis Bilton?
Do we know where it's Beis
Biram.
Bilton now? Maybe it's right there, but it's inside. Beis Bilton.
It's closer to Iraq, yeah. In other words, you went through Eretz from Yerushalayim, you went up, you went up north, you went east, right? And at some point it was Beis Bilton over there. It was Lav Dafka in the territory that we call today Eretz Yisrael. It could have been much further. Syria. Yeah, I'm saying it was not necessarily in our territory what we call Eretz Yisrael today. Israel today. Eretz Yisrael.
Like he's not Gurus that like it's
that it's from Eretz Yisrael. Because all these places are Eretz Yisrael.
What does that mean? It's Mashmikan. Is it or isn't it?
No, in other words, it seems like all the Tosfos is saying that all the mountains seemingly were in Eretz Yisrael. I think that's his point. It wasn't outside already of Eretz Yisrael, like in Bavel or in Syria. But again, what we're calling Eretz Yisrael here is, remember, in times of Tosfos, Jews didn't rule over Eretz Yisrael. The times of the Gemarah, Jews didn't rule over Eretz Yisrael. So they were discussing what are the ideal border, what are the real borders, the authentic borders of Eretz Yisrael that Hashem gave the Jewish people. So that extends further north and further east. Remember, the Jews, when they settled, they also had Eved HaYarden, they had Transjordan. Right? Today's Amman, today's Jordan was also part of Eretz Yisrael. Okay, it had different some different halachas, but the Bnei Gad, originally by the first Beis HaMikdash, they all settled there, Transjordan. So, and again, that's already more east. That's already closer to Iraq, Jordan. So if you go north, you hit Syria. If you go east, you go to Jordan, and then Iraq is to the east of that. Okay. Zog the Gemarah weiter. So Rabbi Yosef says, "Zu Pumpedis." This is Pumpedis. You know, I did see. Can I just look at something over there?
Certainly.
I know Rashi says in Sanhedrin they bring that it used to be Nahardar used to be the center, and then it was changed to Pumbedisa. Nahardar used to be the center. Right? Oh yeah. Okay, I saw it. Yeah. Nahardar was the principal center of the Babylonian diaspora in the times of the Mishnah.
Makes sense.
So when the Mishnah says here Hagoyla, we would say it's Nahardar. Yet Nahardar was destroyed by the kingdom of Palmyra. There was a war,
Persian Palmyran War.
Yeah, there was a war between known as the Persian Palmyran War. Tadmor is in the Lashon Gemarah. And because of this war, in the early times of the Amirayim, basically after the death of Shmuel, so the times of Rav, until the times of Rav and Shmuel, the center was Nahardar, which is further east. Nahardar is near the Euphrates River. However, after this war between Bavel and the kingdom of Palmyra, Tadmor, so what happened was...
Which was closer to the Persian border, obviously.
Yes, yes. So the famous yeshiva of the Nahardar and the main population of Jews, which was in Nahardar, they relocated to Pumbedisa, which is pretty close. So the later Amirayim, like Rabbi Yosef, who's speaking here, Rabbi Yosef, right? When he was describing the Goyla, the main Jewish community in exile, who was he talking about? He's talking about Pumbedisa. Even though he's explaining the Mishnah. And in the Mishnah's times, it's Nahardar. But he's describing, right, the reality then. The reality then is that they want, who should see the torches? The Jews living in Pumbedisa, because that is where the main settlement of the Jews are.
Nahardar physically couldn't see it. I mean, they had to because they couldn't.
No, I think Nahardar is pretty close to Pumbedisa, but it's more east, right? Huh? Pumbedisa is associated with Fallujah, but Nahardar is more east than Pumbedisa. Huh?
And if they ran there to escape.
How close?
One's 33 minutes, 33:25, 43:18. The other one is 33:35,
So they're very close to each other. Okay.
How close could it be? It would be no running away if you're running. Let's say Pumbedisa was a garrison, maybe.
Zog the Gemarah weiter. Ton, we learned a Braisa, Micah Medura Seish. What does it mean that he saw the whole diaspora as a bound fire? It obviously can't mean literally that everything was up in flames. Tana, we learned in a Braisa, what it means is Kol Echad Ve'echad. Every individual living in Pumbedisa who saw the torch from base built in, Noitel Avuka B'Yadeh, would take his own torch in his own hand, and ascend to the top of his roof and wave it. And then when his neighbor saw it, he brought his torch up onto the roof. And so, all the Jews in the city were basically on their roofs with bonfires. So if you're looking from a distance, the whole Pumbedisa is literally on fire, so to speak.
Must have been very spectacular.
Yes. Yeah, so the whole Megillah is Kimidura Seish. It's like one big bonfire. Tanya, we learned a Braisa. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, our Mishnah enumerated every mountain where they lit a torch until the Jews of Bavel saw it. And once the Jews of Bavel saw it, you were good to go. Now, of course, once Pumbedisa was on fire, places closer to Pumbedisa or further from Pumbedisa also saw it, so they also knew. Right? So we understand that the news traveled fast, and of course, the great advantage was that everybody knew when Rosh Chodesh was, and everybody knew when Yom Tov was.
On the same night.
The same night, the night after Rosh Chodesh, the night after, right? Tanya, so the only problem was Rosh Hashanah, every other Yom Tov was completely covered, there was no issues. Tanya, but we learned a Braisa that some other mountains here, Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, I want you to know there were other places where they would light torches. Av Charim, place called Charim, Chayar, a place called Chayar, V'Geder, a place called Geder, and V'Chavrei Seha, her neighbors, meaning places around Geder. In all these places they would light torches. As Rashi says, Avcharim, V'Chayar, V'Geder, the first Rashi on top, Chav Gimel Amud Beis. In these places too, Hayamasiyan, Amasuas, B'Roshi Harim Shalem. On top of their mountains, they would also light torches. So now this is interesting. Our Mishnah ignores these places. So there's two explanations how to understand the emission, the fact that our Mishnah doesn't mention this. Ikadamri, some explain it, Beini u'Beini havakaimi. These mountains that Reb Shimon ben Elazar enumerates in the Braisa, Charim, Chayar, Geder, and the places around it, were Beini u'Beini havakaimi. They were in between, Beini u'Beini, in between the mountains that our Mishnah mentions. In other words, our Mishnah just mentions 5. It goes from one extreme all the way to the end, but in between, there were other mountains that the Mishnah would skip over. That's one explanation. How to reconcile the two. Stam to make a debate and an argument would be quite illogical, because this was information that's known, and they do it every single month. So stam to make a machloikas and metzias is generally we try to avoid. So one interpretation is the Mishnah doesn't enumerate everything, especially since it's not negei l'maisa at this point of the Gemarah. It'll be negei l'maisa when Mashiach comes. But it's not negei l'maisa, so if you don't know every mountain, you don't know every mountain. Ikadamri, another interpretation is no, it's not the Mishnah doesn't admit anything. The Mishnah says everything. Lahach gisa d'Eretz Yisrael havakaimi. These places stood at another side. Hach gisa means on the other side of Eretz Yisrael. Mar chashiv the high gisa or mar chashiv the high gisa. Our Mishnah is discussing and mentioning one side, and the Braisa of Shmuel is mentioning another side. Meaning, the border of Eretz Yisrael that's facing Babylonia, right, exists in 2 plains, on the eastern side and then on the northern side. So therefore, because remember, Iraq, present-day Iraq and Iran are east from Eretz Yisrael, but they're also north from Eretz Yisrael. They go up north. So therefore, he says, the Tana of our Mishnah is counting them from one side, and the Bryce is counting them from the other side. Rashi says, Beini u'Beini, the Hanach, the Masnis, and Havakaim and Hanach. Beini u'Beini means between the mountains of the Mishnah, you have these mountains. Another interpretation is Be'idach Gisa Shalei Yisrael L'tzad Bavel. Shnei Tzdadim Shalei Yisrael Nimshachan L'tzad Bavel. 2 sides of Eretz Yisrael extend to Bavel.
That's what said Biram.
Yeah, the border of Eretz Yisrael that's facing Bavel goes to the east and to the north. So before, in both places, they were lighting torches. So our Mishnah is speaking about one direction, and the Bryce is talking about another direction, and in both they lit torches. East of Eretz Yisrael and north of Eretz Yisrael. So they should be able to see it in Iraq. So it's b'chlal not a contradiction, they're talking about different places. Now of course, you could look up where they are. What do you have to argue where they are? Take a look. But apparently in the times of the Amoraim, they already didn't recognize these names. Not Charim, and not Chayar, not Geder. So they didn't know. They couldn't know if these are in between the mountains that the Mishnah discusses, or they're not in between these mountains. They're actually on the border of Eretz Yisrael, but a different border. That's why you can have a machlaikas. I mean, that's what it says. Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, "Ben kol achas va'achas, between each ones of the mountains in the Mishnah, shmoina parsayas. You have 8 parsa. Between the Mishnah mentioned 5 mountains, right? You remember. So between each one, Rabbi Yochanan said, you should understand the distance. The distance was 8 parsayas. A parsa is basically 8,000 amas. Generally, a parsa, we always say, is 4 mil. In Gemarah terminology, it's 4 mil. A mil is 2,000 amas. An amma is approximately between 1.5 feet and 2 feet. Depends how you measure it. There's arguments about the measurements. So a parsa is 4 mil. A mil is 2,000 amas. So therefore, basically, a parsa is 8,000 amas. That's what it is. Parsa is 4 mil, and each mil is 2,000 amas. A parsa is 8,000 amas. 8 parsayas, therefore, if a parsa is 8,000 amas, so 8 times 8, right, would be 64. Ms? 8 times 8. So 8 parsayas would be 64,000 amas. So Rabbi Yochanan says between one mountain and another mountain, you have 64,000 amas. No, we had 5 mountains, and between each mountain, Rabbi Yochanan says you have 8 parsayas. A parsa is 4 mil, right? So it's basically 4 times 8, so it's 32 mil between one mountain and another mountain.
That's only the Mishnah's mountains. That's after
32 mil. A mil is approximately the size of a kilometer.
The Mishnah's mountains.
Yeah, the Mishnah's mountains. A mil is approximately the size of a kilometer, which is of course shorter than a mile. So according to Reb Chaim, no, it would be 30 kilometers. According to Chazon Ish, it's 36 kilometers.
From the beginning,
miles would be less.
From the beginning of the torches till the end of the torches.
That's what we're going to do now.
The distance in miles, approximately.
That's what we're going to do right now. Zog the Gemarah Kama Havaluhu. How many parsayas altogether? In other words, from the first torch to the last torch, plus a betartin, 32 parsayas from the beginning till the end. Why? Because the Mishnah counts 5 places in between, right? Between 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5. You have basically 4 spaces. Each one is 8 parsayas. So it's 8, 16. Another 2 8s is 32. So therefore you have 32 parsayas in between. 32 parsayas. You see today that the distance between these places is a lot more than 32 parsayas. Amar Abaye said something happened after the Churban Beis HaMikdash. Istatum lahu drachi. The shorter ways have become plugged and sealed, and we're going in winding paths, and therefore it's much longer. The Ksiv, the Pasuk says, the prophecy of Hosea on the destruction of the 10 Shvatim, L'cheinin in Isach is darkech basirim. Therefore, I will plug, I will cover, I will block your pathways basirim with thorns. It says v'gadarti is g'deir. I will create borders in a sivaisel loisimtza. It's pathways you won't find. So basically, what he's saying is that istatum. Rashi says istatum drachi v'achazu aholchin derech hakalson. And those who travel take winding pathways, so it's much longer. Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, Reb Nachman bar Yitzchak says mehacha. The source is this pasuk. It says in Eicha nisivoisai iva. My pathways he made crooked.
Special runners.
No, you're right. That's why the Mishnah. Rabbi Yochanan is just saying, I want to tell you how far it's from one mountain to get to the other mountain.
Not that it makes a difference.
Right. So he says 8 parsayas between each one. So it's 32 altogether. For the Gemarah, take a look, travel. It's going to be much longer.
Right.
So the Gemarah says, you're right. It's on our roads and our pathways. It's going to be much longer. So why does Rabbi Yochanan say it's 32 parsayas? And Rabbi Yochanan was living after Churban Beis HaMikdash, and the Mishnah was written after Churban Beis HaMikdash, right? But apparently, to get from a mountain to another mountain, it's about vision. It's not about actually finding the highway or the pathway to get from one place to another place. Okay, so the Mishnah finished with the story of the torches and how they used to ignite the torches, and the news traveled very fast from place to place until everybody knew. And then, finally in Bavel, it became clear when Rosh Chodesh is, because the whole Pumbedisa was on fire. The Mishnah weiter, there was a large courtyard in Jerusalem, Beis Yazek Hoysa Nikras. The name of this courtyard was called Beis Yazek, which the Gemarah is going to explain why it was named this way. The house of Yazek. Ulasham Kola Edim Miskansen. All the witnesses who arrived to testify about the new moon used to gather and stay in this courtyard. Ubezdin Boitkin Oisam Sham. This was the place where Bezdin would investigate their testimony. Usudas Gdoilus Oisin Lahem. And Bezdin would arrange for them huge feasts, huge meals, b'shvil sheyir regilin lavai, to make it an attractive place to come. They wanted witnesses should be accustomed to come, and they knew that there is a great meal, even though to come and testify for the new moon is a mitzvah, to the point that you're allowed to desecrate Shabbos to come, so it's obviously a big mitzvah. Nonetheless, there was also a material incentive, in addition to the mitzvah, that you have to put food, Yeah. You can have everything nice and good, but you need the food. So they had to make more sudas to be mechav of the mitzvah, to make it more cherished by the witnesses, and therefore people would want to come. This was all in the Chatzar of Beis Yazik. This is where they would have the big meals. The Mishnah says, B'Rishayin, in the beginning, Loi hayu zazin misham kol hayoyim. The witnesses who came on Shabbos, so when they would arrive to that courtyard in Yerushalayim and Beis Yazik, they would not go from there, they would not leave there all day. We'll see in a moment why. Hiskir Reb Gamliel Azaken, Reb Gamliel the elder. He's called Reb Gamliel Azaken. Right. Instituted Mahalchin Alpayim Amal L'chol Ruach. They should be able to move around outside, throughout Yerushalayim and outside of Yerushalayim, 2,000 amas in every direction outside of Yerushalayim, all 4 directions. So let's see, outside of Yerushalayim. So Rashi explains. Chatze G'doyla Isa b'Yerushalayim b'kol edem eskansim b'yoyim ha-Shabbos shechilalu lavei lahayit. Rashi says when we say all the Edom gather there and remain there, yeah, that was the place. But it's speaking about specifically on Shabbos, when the witnesses desecrated the Shabbos to come from a far distance and testify, they would go there, that courtyard. Lo hayum zazin misham, they wouldn't move from there. Why? Lefi sheyatzu chutz l'tchum, because they left Chum Shabbos. Va'yoytzi chutz l'tchum ein le'el adal amos. The halacha is as follows. There is a Tchum Shabbos. I leave my city, let's say. You're allowed to go from your house, you're allowed to travel in the whole city. But once you leave the city, you have 2,000 amos in each direction. 2,000 amos is permissible. Let's say around 3,000 feet or a little more. I reach that border, that's called Tchum Shabbos. If I stay there, great. What if I violate the halachas of Tchum Shabbos and I go out? Even if I did it with permission, once I reach my destination, the halacha is ein le'el adal amos. For the rest of Shabbos, I can only remain within an area of 4 cubits, around 6 or 8 feet. So therefore, these people, even though they were allowed to go outside of Tchum Shabbos, because you're allowed to be Mechal Shabbos, Eid of Tchumen. An Eid of Tchumen allows you to extend the area you go. So let's say, before Shabbos, I put a meal at the border of the city, 2,000 amos at the border, right? So on Shabbos, I could walk 2,000 amos to my meal, and then from my meal, I have another 2,000 amos. In other words, it's as though I rested in that place Friday night when Shabbos came in, so I could now walk 2,000 amos from there. So it can extend it. But here, that wouldn't help. That wouldn't help. You're talking about huge distances. They're coming from all over Eretz Yisrael. The Eid of Tchumen wouldn't help, right? So therefore, they were Mechal Shabbos. They were allowed to be Mechal Shabbos. But once they came to the Chatzar, they had to remain in their Dalet Amos. But what do I mean in the Dalet Amos? The Dalet Amos, they couldn't leave. Okay, 1 second. So that's what happened. Reb Gamliel Hazaken changed that. He changed it. Even though halachically, when you go Shabbos outside of the Tchum, you can't go outside of the 4 Amos. Now, when we say outside of 4 Amos, that means only if you're in the outside, for example, in the wilderness. Yeah. Here, where they're in a courtyard, 4 Amos doesn't mean, 4 Amos means the whole chutzah. They can go in the whole chutzah because it's mukaf mechitzas. It's with mechitzas. So it didn't mean they didn't move. They couldn't move outside of 2 feet or 4 feet, 6 feet. It meant they couldn't move outside of the chutzah, roaming Yerushalayim. But in the chutzah, they could go around. That's why it says chutzah g'doyla. It was a big chutzah. So it's not like... so Tosfos asks a question, l'chayra Yerushalayim was mukaf mechitzas. So what do you need a chutzah? In other words, the whole Yerushalayim... So Tosfos answers... Okay, we'll learn in Tosfos that this is already after Yerushalayim was breached. This Mishnah was written after Yerushalayim was breached. We'll see in a moment. So therefore, once they go into this place of the mechitzas, the whole place is called is 4 Amos, and they could walk there. Reb Gamliel Hazaken instituted something new. Now, we call him Reb Gamliel Hazaken because basically there were another 2 Reb Gamliels after him. His descendants, there were another 2 leaders of the Sanhedrin also called Reb Gamliel. So that's why he's called the first one, the senior, the elder Reb Gamliel. He's called Reb Gamliel Hazaken. He instituted that they should be able to go 2,000 Amos outside of Yerushalayim in every direction as though they lived in the city. Remember, if somebody lives in a city when Shabbos comes in, So then the whole city is Arba Amas. The whole city is called 4 Amas. And then they could go the whole city, plus they could go another 2,000 Amas outside of the city. So these people who left the Tchum and went out of the Tchum with permission, so the Chachamim and Gamliel HaZaken made a status that they have a definition of residents of Yerushalayim, people who were there before Shabbos. If they were there before Shabbos, you would let them travel in the whole city plus 2,000 Amas. That was the change that he made. And he says, V'lo ye'elu bilvat. This halacha was not only for the witnesses. Ella, av chachama haba leyalit. A midwife called a chachama who comes on Shabbos through the Tchum Shabbos in order to help a woman give birth. V'abba lahatzel min adleika. Somebody who travels a far distance on Shabbos to save people from a fire. Or min hagayis. Or from an enemy, a foe, an attacking foe, an attacking army. Or min hanor. Or from a flood of a river, a tsunami, or from a home that fell down on its residents. In all these places, people come from far to save the situations. There are, of course, a lot of Mechalo Shabbos because it's an issue of life and death. Once they arrive there, you don't say, now they can only remain 4 Amas, they can only be Dalet Amas there, or in the house where they are. No, they're like the people of the city who were there when Shabbos came in. They could travel the whole city, plus they could walk 2,000 Amas from each direction. Rashi says, Min hanar shehu gadol pisan. The river suddenly rises, the tide.
Flash flood.
Yes. There's a flood v'shoitev es bnei ha'ir v'es ha'yeladim, and it floods the residents of the city and the children. So therefore, a person is allowed to do anything to save them, including, of course, violate Chum Shabbos. So Rabbi Gamliel HaZaken instituted that he is considered a member of the city. So Rashi says this halach, and the Mishnah was talking about Shabbos. They came to the Chatzar and they stayed there till Rabbi Gamliel's days, and then Rabbi Gamliel's days, he already allowed them to walk around the whole Yerushalayim on Shabbos and even outside of Yerushalayim 2,000 hours. So Tosfos here asks the question you asked. Loi ho yuzazim misham, you see? Chav Gimel Amid Beis. Frek Tosfos, Zok Tosfos, v'shayotzi chutz l'tchum. Because the halacha is somebody who leaves the tchum. In other words, he travels more than 2,000 amas outside of the city on Shabbos, even though he was allowed to. Ein le'el adalet amas. Wherever he stops, he's only allowed to walk there 4 amas if it's an open place, a public domain, or a forest, a wilderness, a park. Unless he's in a place where he is surrounded by a wall, like a house or a courtyard. So, if he's in a courtyard, the whole courtyard is considered like 4 amas. As the Mishnah says in Maseches Erev in the Perek Misha Yitziyu, that basically it says, non-Jews who take a Jew outside of the Tchum Shabbos unwillingly, they just schlep him out. V'nasnu b'dir b'sar v'chuli, and they place him in a dir is a stable, or a sar is a place, a corral, yeah, a place where they keep animals or they keep fertilizer and they keep him there. So the halacha is that he's allowed to walk in that whole area because it's mukaf mechitzas. So we see clearly that a chotzer is like dalet amas. In that Perek in Edevin, he speaks about the fact basically there were male rams that non-Jews brought on Yom Tiv to a city called Mivar Chasa. The Chraya were male rams, the Asu that came to Mivar Chasa, and Rava allowed all the people for Yom Tiv to purchase these rams, even though the rams were brought from outside of the Tchum, Shekala Ir Chashuvalem Kedalat Amas, because the whole city is considered like Dalat Amas, so therefore it's not a problem, even though they came Mechutz L'Tchum. The non-Jews don't have a problem of Tchum. Yeah, they brought these rams outside of the Tchum. So Rava said, you can take these rams for Yom Tif and shech them and use them. How could you carry them from where these goyim are to your house? The answer is, once you came to the place, the whole city is fine. So if the whole city is fine, why here the Eidos had to stay in the Chatzar? And for Tosfos Hainu Be'ira Mukefes Mechitzas. In Edevin, he's talking about a city that was surrounded with walls. Because it was surrounded with walls, it was like a courtyard. So the whole city is considered Dalet Amas.
So now they should be buying those rams? The guy who brought the rams, to sell them or just
the shuk.
You could do it after Yom Tov. You could do it after Yom Tov. If there was trust, so we could learn to Beitz, you could do it after Yom Tov. Ayin Yerushalayim, l'chayda Yerushalayim has a chayma. So if Yerushalayim has a chayma, why couldn't they walk around? And for Tosfos, Yerushalayim la'achash apartza bo Yevonim protzes. The chashivik Rishus Harab. Our mission is already addressing Yerushalayim of later years, after the Greeks came and breached all the walls. Once the walls were breached sufficiently, it was already considered a public domain. So it's not anymore a Chatzer Hamokefes, it's a Rishus Harabim. So once you violated Chum Shabbos and you come into Yerushalayim, you can only walk Daled Amos. Unless you're in a courtyard, you could stay in that courtyard. As the Gemarah says, again in Erev and Amaitzi Tefillin, that once Yerushalayim was breached, it has a status of Rishus Harabim. Mihu, but Tosfos says, however, it's possible that it's not so simple. Maybe you don't need the city to be walled in order to let a person walk through the city. The Ashkechan, we find a situation, we have a situation where a whole city is considered like 4 cubits, even without walls. So it's possible maybe to say that even without walls, a city should be called Daled Amos. Where do we see this? Again, in Masechta Eruvin, the Perek of Ketzad Ma'abrin, he says there, Noisen Karpuf Le'ir. A person is allowed to walk from his city to another city, as long as between the two cities there's less than 2,000 amas. And those 2,000 amas you don't measure from the edge of the city. Rather, you give a karpuf. A karpuf would be an extra enclosure, an extra piece of territory that's not settled. It's called a karpuf. As long as it's around 70 amas outside of the city, and from there you measure. You don't have to measure mamish from the border of your city, 2,000 amas, and if the other city is a little further, you can't walk there. You can give yourself a little extra, it's called a karpuf, 70 amas, like a extra territory at the edge of the city, and from there you start measuring. If there's no 2,000 amas from after the karpuf till the other city, then you're allowed to walk. Oitnan, we also learned in the Erev, if somebody puts his Erev Tchumen, in other words his bread, he puts it b'toich ibura shalir. Toich means within the pregnancy of the city, which means he goes outside of the city and he puts it at the end, let's say, of 70 amas from the city. Lo asav lo klum. He didn't do anything. You know why? Because from there he could walk anyway. If you put the point of the Erev is put it at the end of 2,000 amas, you put it at the end of 70 amas, he didn't accomplish anything because there you could walk anyway from. As we said, we give you a little extra from the city. What does it seem from here? It seems that the whole city is considered a Rishus HaYachid even without a wall, because we're measuring 2,000 amas from Ibura Shalir, from the edge of the city, which is 70 amas. Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that the Ibura Shalir is within the Chayma of the city. Right. It doesn't mean it's in the Chayma of the city. It's talking about outside of the city. Right. In terms of Tchum Shabbos, that means even if the city has a wall, we're still giving you an extension to the city. We're not saying that this is inside the wall of the city. This is outside of the city, and it's still considered as part of the city. So Tosfos says, V'im, if you're going to compare this din of somebody who goes more than the Tchum on Shabbos to the din of somebody who's in a city, and the whole city is considered Rishus HaYachid, and you can even go to the Ibura Shalir, 70 amas outside of the city. So if we're going to compare the two dinim, we're going to say that even somebody who leaves the Tchum on Shabbos, you let him be in the whole city with the Ibur, and it's all like Daled Amos. So even without mechitzas, the whole thing could be considered Daled Amos. In other words, in the city where you rested after you went through the Tchum Shabbos, you violated the Tchum Shabbos, we would allow you to walk in the entire city, plus in the Ibur of the city. If so, the witnesses would be allowed to walk in the whole Yerushalayim, and including even 70 amas outside of Yerushalayim. Why? Because that would all be considered Daled Amos, even if there's no Chayma. If that's the case, it would seem that according to this, Tosfos would have to argue that this wasn't a problem.
Didn't they do it so your trim starts after they were?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Even though there's no chayma. If the Ibur is in the chayma, then it's not outside.
Now after you're in the, you're allowed to walk in the Ibur was
Outside of the city, around 70 yamas outside of the city.
Yeah, but the 70 yamas wasn't that to extend your trim.
Yeah.
But once you already walked the trim, now you're in walking around. You also add that 70.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
This is no worse than a resident of the city.
No, we give dollar amas. Dollar
Haven't done it
amas.
Shabbos, right? Somebody landed in the airport on Shabbos.
Yeah. I just see one thing. I just want to see one thing.
Beyond the right. That's the end of the area where Tchum begins. We have to count 2,000 amas.
So the dollar amas that you walk around is not about the trim anymore. It's about your allowance of movement. So why you add the 70?
That's what he did. We give him extras.
Give them extra square.
Whatever a resident in the city would have, that's what they got.
That is
no
what
worse than anybody else.
In the Abba,
So it's with the second.
You have a double.
You can live there.
You have it from the other,
in the city.
from where you walk, you have the 70. Now you have more the 70.
No, where you walk, you have
walk
to
You
get
add the 70 over there too.
You can have 170. You can have 370.
Between houses all the time.
After it's just around. That's where you add 70.
Right.
So now, if what it's, according to this, Tosfos is saying that when the Mishnah says "Lo hayu zazin misham," it doesn't mean the courtyard. It means the whole Yerushalayim, the whole city, the whole Yerushalayim. That's what it would mean. Rabbi Gamliel only allowed them to go 2,000 amas outside of Yerushalayim, but they can actually go according to the Locham. This is a whole different interpretation, not like Rashi who says Dalet amas, and here would be the courtyard, and Tosfos says because Yerushalayim was a public domain because it was breached. Another interpretation is even if it was a public domain, it's possible that the whole city would be permissible. Gemarah just clarifies now one point. Sag the Gemarah, Boilahu, they asked a question. Beis Yazek or Beis Yozek? We say Beis Yazek or Beis Yozek? How do you pronounce it? What's the question? Beis Yazek, do we have to pronounce it Beis Yazek? V'lishnam al Yehu. And it's a positive lashon, it's a positive term. The Ksiv, the pasuk says, Vayaskeyu, Vayisaklehu. A pasuk in Yeshaya Hanavi basically brings it, if you have the psukim on the side, Vayaskeyu, Vayisakleyu, Vayitaeyu Soirik. The Navi Yeshaya is talking about a vineyard that the Jews are compared to, and it says, Hashem says, the Kerem Hoyel Ididi, my friend had a vineyard, Vayaskeyu, Vayisakleyu. Vayaskeyu means he surrounded it with a fortress. Iska in Aramaic is a ring, just like a ring surrounds the finger. Vayaskeyu means you surrounded the vineyard with protection. Vayisakleyu means you removed all the stones over there. So Yazek would be a positive expression. Rashi says, Sigoy begeder avonim saviv beigul kamay tabas. He made a fortress, a fence around the vineyard with stones in a circle like a ring. That's Vayaskeyu. That's Beis Yazek. So Beis Yazek is a beautiful courtyard that is protected around and around with a wall. That's why it's called Beis Yazek. Oidilme Beis Yozik. Maybe the word is Yozik. It's actually it's a negative term. Kediksiv, the pasuk says, "Bayirmiyavu asur ba'azikim." He was arrested ba'azikim, in chains, in shackles. What would be the connection here? Rashi says, "Listen to Tzar al Shem Sha'asurin Ki'ilu Bezikin." It's like they're chained in shackles. Shein zazim misham kalayim. You don't let them move from there all day. So therefore they're chained down. So either it was called Beis Yazek because of the shmira, because it was a protected chutzner. I guess nobody could come in to steal all the sudas. The food is for them. Or Beis Yazek, it was a place of chains because they had to stay there a whole Shabbos till Mitzvah Shabbos. Amar Abaye says, Toshma. Come in here. The same Mishnah says, Sudas G'daylos Hayoisim Lam Shem G'shigim Lava. They used to make major feasts. Rashi, Alma, you see, Lo Habalu Tzara. There was obviously no aggravation there. Why are you calling it Beis Yazek? They were chained, but there was full of food there. So who wants to leave? So therefore, there was no Tzar. So the Gemarah, no. Dil Metarti Yavavdi Behu. Maybe both things were true. On one level, there was a tsar because they were chained up. On the other level, they made sudas in order to alleviate the distress. In other words, could be because they were in distress, they made the sudas. Taka, the Mishnah says they made the sudas, they should come back. But lav davka doesn't mean they weren't stuck there on one level. Could be they were stuck and there was sudas dollars. Huh? What?
Maybe it's just a way of saying that.
The two interpretations. What was Abaye thinking? Abaye was thinking what? If you're having simcha from the Sudas Gdolos, it takes away the other tsar. It takes away the aggravation. The Gemara says, lav dafka.
No, it
could still
somebody
exist.
gets up to the Amid Shul, yeah? It's like Michigan. You have a kiddush afterwards, you forget about that. You're not thinking about that.
That happens for Shalom.
Kiddush Beluga. That's Shalom.
Not Shalom, sorry, Shvi, it's in the morning that happens.
Oh, I like about feeling young. But there was nothing to drink, that was a problem. Nothing.
Let's just do fast Tosfos here. It's a very interesting ha'ara he makes. Oidil Melishna the Tzara. So he quotes Rashi, Pirish B'Kuntris, Mishum Shal Shem Shasurin Kilu B'Zikin, Eina Mizazim Mishum Kolayam Kulei, because they're like in chains. V'hainu Koidev the Iskirim Gamliel Shem Halchan Apayim Amal L'chol Ruach. Obviously, it's before Rem Gamliel instituted that they could walk the whole Yerushalayim plus 2,000 Amas, because they're not stuck. So that's why it was called Beis Yazik for the time before. The Kashya, my Maisi, what's the Raya of Abai? There was no aggravation. Misudik Zdoilis, because they were great Sudas. Al Karcha Chaydim Rem Gamliel Hachiyava. This is obviously before the Takon of Rem Gamliel, because they can't move. So what does that do with Sudas Gdoilis? What does it do with Sudas Gdoilis? In other words, if it's Takon of, once after the Takon of Rem Gamliel, then you don't need Sudas Gdoilis. They're free. Yeah? We're talking about before the Takon of Rem Gamliel. They can't budge. So what does it help with the Sudas Gdoilis? So Tosfos says, so by Pashtus you learn, the way you learn Rashi is that the Sudas Gdoilis, we thought, alleviates, so to speak, the pain of the shackles. You take a stock, but you can eat all day. Right? That's what the Havamin. But Tosfos doesn't understand, what's the Havamin and what's the Maskana. Just because there's food doesn't mean you're not chained. When you're stuck somewhere, you're stuck, right? You're stuck. So Tosfos says, it seems a little different. The Meboyi lay, the Gemarah is asking a question. Is that place tsar lahem? If it was basically a narrow place, it was eng, it was fakvetched. Or it was very open, the courtyard open to other courtyard. It was just a very open place. You weren't stuck with a bunch of people. You remember, you can have hundreds of people. It's not the sudas. Because there were big meals, it means it wasn't one courtyard. Courtyard was open to another courtyard and another courtyard, another courtyard. There was a smorgasbord here, a smorgasbord. That's the point. The Sudas Gdoilos is not the meals. It's a raya. It wasn't one meal. Sudas Gdoilos. There were big feasts. That means there were a lot of locations. It spread out to other courtyards, so people were not fakvetched in one place, in one courtyard with hundreds of people. Ve'im taimar. That's what his raya is, Sudas Gdoilos. They're very different than Rashi. Very different. Rashi says, Sudas Gdoilos, al maloi havalu tsara. There was no tsar. He says, no, it means tsar because there wasn't a small place. There were a lot of places to walk. V'im toimar, are you going to ask, how can they go to other courtyards? Kivan the Isser Shabbos alai. Remember, they're coming out mechutz l'tchum. This is before Rem Gamliel's takana. How can they go from one eich yotzim mechutz l'chutzer? How can you go from one courtyard to another courtyard? L'chayri, you still have on Isser Shabbos, you can't go more than Dalet Amas. V'yashloimar, kiven the koidim the parts of Ha'yichem l'leches b'chaleir. Since, as we explained before the Greeks breached Yerushalayim, they can actually walk in the whole city because the whole Yerushalayim is considered one house because it's a Reshus HaYachid. So gam atam mishenifritza, even now when it was breached, it wasn't completely breached. Even now that it was breached, is kama mevoyes v'chatzeris psuchim la'oisei chatzer shoyrashoyin lahalach ben karba amas. Many alleyways and courtyards, exactly, were individually closed. And therefore they were open to that courtyard. So around, there could be like a whole area, say, of 50 courtyards and alleyways that were all surrounded by walls. So they could walk the Karba Amas. Just like an ear that's Mukaf Chayma. You could walk in the whole city, right? Even if though you came outside of Tchum Shabbos. You can go the whole city. Here too, we're dealing with a city that was essentially surrounded by a wall. So there were breaches. So maybe the city you couldn't walk. But there were still areas where there was completely mukav chayma, and therefore, he says, there was sudas gedolos. It means there was a lot of space. On this, the Gemarah says, in other words, it could be that both were true. The Gemarah refutes this. Why does the Gemarah refute it? Because it could be both are true. In other words, there were still big meals, yeah, but it was still tight. Doesn't mean necessarily that the big meals were so expensive everywhere.
Yazik is also the lotion of damage.
That's the lotion of avocados where the sudas.
No, that's hezek. You mean hezek.
It's not from the same.
No. Why Reb Gamliel was mated it? Poshet. The witnesses wouldn't come. He realized they're not going to come. Reb Gamliel Azaken realized if he doesn't do this, they're going to stop coming. They're going to come Shabbos. They're going to be locked up a whole day. They don't want it. They don't want to be in a chutzner a whole day. People want to walk around. People want fresh air. So he realized, just like you're allowed to be Mechalel Shabbos to come, if he's not going to let this, they're going to stop coming. So that's it. And all these situations, a person is going to go on a fire, yeah? And then you're going to keep him stuck. 4 Amos, a whole Shabbos. He came to save somebody. She came to be with a woman, yeah? And then she's going to be stuck in this house for the whole Shabbos. She's not going to come. She'll find excuses. She'll send somebody else. So Gamliel realized this is what we call in halacha tiru sofen mishum tchilasan.
The tchilasa should be there, so.
Yeah, because they realized that tiru sofen mishum tchilasan, because if you don't let at the end them having a good time, they won't come l'chatchila. So therefore he allowed it to come. I guess initially it wasn't a problem, and then he saw it's a problem. So Gamliel said, forget it. Just let them go wherever they want. I mean, he wouldn't let them be over on Tchum Shabbos. But he would take away this din that you're not allowed to walk.
Again, if you took away
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.